Dragon Ball. This Goku is terrifyingly strong. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 126 Gohan's Strength. ZHI. Cell was resurrected, and his strength was further improved. However, he looked at Goku with deep fear in his eyes. The gap was too big. How is this possible? Son Goku. Cell seemed to feel Vegeta's mood at this moment. That is, his mentality was about to collapse. He is the ultimate artificial human designed by Dr. Gallo, whose purpose is to kill Goku, but at the same time, he also brings together the cells and skills of many martial artists in order to realize Dr. Gallo's wish. Before that, Sheru's ultimate goal was actually to become a complete body. As an ultimate artificial human with a complete evolutionary line, Cell's complete body indeed possesses perfect talents and potential. So he doesn't think he will lose to Son Goku. No matter in terms of talent, skills, or even fighting thinking, he should be superior to all Earth warriors if the development of the original work is followed. Sheru's idea is not wrong, and to a certain extent, he is like a historical character. He originally appeared because Trunks came to this era in a time machine. Cell does not belong to this time and space, but to a more distant future world. This is the inertia and self-healing mechanism of space and time. In the original work, without Gohan's sudden rise, Cell would have killed all the Earth warriors again after the failure of the 17th and 18th, returning the Earth to Trunks' desperate future time and space. In this way, the closed loop of time and space is completed. Because according to the timeline, Cell and Trunks are indeed in an earlier time and space, and it is also the real time and space number 1 and number 2. But now everything has changed, and this time and space has undergone changes that Sheru cannot correct. It's grown. It's grown. It's grown. Satan. Mr. Satan. What on earth is this? Satan's group of people looked as if they had seen a ghost at this moment, and their eyes almost fell out. What did they see? With only one head left, Sheru actually grew a body and was resurrected. Instinctively, they chose to deny this fact. Ha ha ha. All tricks must be tricks. There must be a mechanism under this arena. That's right. Really, you are indeed Mr. Satan. You can see through it at a glance. Ha ha ha. Really, Shallow actually does such boring tricks, flying into the sky and so on. Ha ha ha. No one paid attention to them, because at this moment Gohan had already walked in front of Cell. Son Goku's son, Cell, was extremely angry at this moment. Looking at Gohan in front of him, veins popped out on his forehead, but he suddenly showed a sneer, looked at Goku, and said in a deep voice, "Son Goku, this will be your stupidest decision. I will personally do it. Kill your son, and then you, food, beat." Goku just smiled, but Xiaomi was very angry. He kept fluttering in Goku's arms and waving his little hands. It seems that her nature is like this. Not only is she extremely talented, but even if she can sense ki, she will not be suppressed by any breath or blood. Chuan Cheo's bloodline has not yet fully awakened, but Xiaomi's talent has begun to show off. Gohan showed the same smile as Goku. He had not grown much taller without entering the spiritual time room, but his eyes were different. He gradually became Goku's calmness and composure. He did not talk nonsense with Cell, and chose to prove himself with facts. And Goku is right. Drink, explosive energy and golden energy soared into the sky, and it was more exaggerated than Goku. After all, he had just advanced not long ago, and had not had time to fully settle. However, Shallow's momentum has been suppressed. This little devil, boom, layers of airwaves rushed straight into the sky, turning into hurricanes and sweeping across. The momentum was no different from Goku's just now, and even more sharp. This is Gohan's first real solo battle. His potential is released and his will matures. In the original work, he once reached the peak of surpassing Goku. This was the highlight of Gohan's life. How could this kid? TSK, brother. Gohan's anger is so powerful. When did this kid become so strong? Boom. As a cylindrical terrifying aura swept across and expanded, Gohan's ki completely climbed to its peak. Under the terrifying combat power of 45 billion, Cell had to show a solemn look, and then also raised his ki to the limit point slightly stronger than Gohan. Wow, the battle was about to break out, and the two figures disappeared in place. Unlike Goku's absolute crushing, Cell was also too careless, so he did not show his full strength point, but at this moment, he realized that Gohan might indeed defeat him, and Cell used 12 points of strength to start this unprecedented battle with Gohan. Boom. Boom boom boom. The collision of fists and feet erupted with a thunderous and terrifying sound, and waves of energy aftermath swept and exploded in the sky, as if the entire space had become oppressive and dark. Every collision of terrifying power makes the atmosphere tremble and roar. Boom. Soul releases lasers from his eyes. This is a method used by demons. Piccolo can also use it. It is extremely fast, destructive and extremely difficult to dodge. But Gohan was taught by Piccolo, so how could he have never encountered such a method before? He just turned sideways and dodged. Then he remembered what Piccolo had taught him when he fought against him. It was in a piece of ice and snow. Gohan had been beaten by Piccolo and was exhausted. Piccolo appeared in front of Gohan, his cloak fluttering in the wind and snow, and said in a deep voice, "Gohan, stand up. Your power is much more than that. Release all your power." Whoosh. Gohan exploded, but unlike when he used random moves to fight back Piccolo, Gohan's eyes were calm, and instead of using Kigen waves, he rushed towards Cell at high speed and punched Cell. Snort. Cell retaliates with a strike of his sword, and sneers secretly, thinking that Gohan is still too immature. However, the next moment, Gohan's figure disappeared in front of him, and suddenly appeared behind Cell, and slammed down his cannon fists with both hands. Bang. Shallow lost his mind, after being hit hard, turned around and blasted out a Kigen wave. Damn it. Go to hell. However, the result was still a blow to the afterimage. When Gohan reappeared, he was already in front of Cell, and punched out with all his strength, knocking Cell straight into the ring below. Ta. Ta ta. Cell did not lose his fighting power because of this, but after landing, he took off his strength with several somersaults. He landed on the ground, half kneeling on the ground, and looked up in front of him in disbelief. He did not feel Gohan's energy, but he subconsciously thought Gohan would be in front, but his judgment deceived him again. Where are you looking? Shallow. What? Cell turned around and saw that Gohan's palm was almost touching his face. As a golden light surged, covering most of the arena, Cell's embarrassed figure took a few steps back, staggered a few times, and almost fell full. Damn it. Drink it. Cell was furious and forcefully exploded his energy to recover from his injuries in a short time. Golden aura swirled around his body. He was breathing heavily and raised his hand to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth. He stared in the direction of Gohan, but his heart was already turned upside down. How is this possible? Am I really not even able to defeat Son Goku's son? Chapter 127 Confrontation. Shallow's mentality exploded, but it made others feel extremely excited. Piccolo smiled. As Gohan's first teacher, he watched Gohan grow up step by step until now, but Gohan's growth still exceeded his expectations. Glancing in Goku's direction, Piccolo had to admit at this moment that Goku was far beyond him in terms of strength and guidance to Gohan. Klin waved his hand excitedly. Okay, we will win for sure. Even Trunks looked excited. Only Vegeta had a gloomy face at the scene, not knowing what was going on. This kid is really looking at Goku, who was holding his daughter with a happy expression on his face. Vegeta was still unwilling. What method does Kakarot use to practice? Baozishin, Shishi and Bulma were sitting in front of the TV. Really, I'm so worried about Gohan now. This guy Goku made a promise, but actually let Gohan take risks again. Okay, Shishi, calm down. Bulma comforted him. Goku is doing this because he wants Gohan to be stronger. After all, you can't hand over difficulties to Goku every time you encounter danger, right? Don't you think this is very harmful to Goku? Isn't it fair? Besides, you're very happy to see Gohan, aren't you? This kid Gohan, Shishi, is like a mother. Although Shishi is usually strict, how could she not notice the changes in Gohan? Looking at Gohan on the ring, I felt equally happy. But at this moment, something changed on the screen, and an afro stole the scene. At the critical moment, Satan suddenly appeared, and almost made the two of them angry to death. What? Who is this person? Don't stand in Gohan's way. Damn it. Get out of the way. Shishi. Calm down. Shishi almost broke the TV. At the same time, something did go wrong at the battle scene. To be precise, there was something wrong with Satan's live broadcast. Seeing that everyone's attention was attracted, Satan began to possess him. Walked in front of the camera and struck a pose, occupying most of the screen. Satan. Mr. Satan, what are you? Even the host looked confused, not knowing what Satan was going to do. Satan's words were astonishing. He pointed directly at the ring and shouted, "Tricks. It's all tricks. Ugh, this is all arranged in advance." Alas, young people nowadays just like to sensationalize, but none of this can be hidden from my eyes. Satan, ha 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 ha. Satan laughed with his hands on his hips. Really, you really deserve to be Mr. Satan. Ha ha ha. Others, who didn't know why, also laughed awkwardly. Although they couldn't understand, they were not blind. The other side of the camera couldn't feel it for the time being, but they could feel the terrifying airwaves and astonishing momentum at the scene, and they felt like they might die in the next moment. Are you telling me this is fake? But they also knew that they couldn't say it because they couldn't explain what the terrifying power of flying into the sky and escaping from the earth was all about. Just stay alive. Isn't that guy so annoying? He actually said it was a trick. Damn it. Clint and others were a little unhappy. Although they were nearly 100 meters away, they could clearly hear what the other party said. I really want to beat them up. Yamcha is also a little indignant. The main reason is that, although he is about to retire as a half martial artist, he has worked hard and knows how much hardship and sweat it takes to have enough strength. Even the experience of an arrow escape. As a result, Satan directly denied all of this with one trick. It would be strange if they were not angry. This was simply obliterating the existence of martial arts. If they knew that Satan had climbed up the Kalan Tower, they would probably be even more angry. After all, Satan can barely be regarded as half a martial artist. It doesn't matter if he can't understand you making it up, but he can understand what you mean by your nonsense here. It's nothing wrong, right? Goku smiled and didn't care. Goku, aren't you angry? That guy said that to Gohan. Krillin and others were puzzled. Why are you angry? Goku spread his hands and said speechlessly, "Do you want everyone on Earth to know that there is a group of beings who can fly to the sky and escape from the Earth casually, and can destroy the world casually, standing here alive?" He looked at the thoughtful people and pointed at Piccolo. "You can ask him how he will be treated when everyone knows about this. TSK, old son." Piccolo clicked his tongue in some displeasure, settling an old score. "Right, don't forget about the time you asked me to snatch Gohan. As the original Piccolo de Mayo, he has too much say. When you can destroy the world, no matter whether you do it or not, you are the big devil." Goku doesn't expect to make all people on Earth return to their original ways and embark on the path of martial arts in this case. It would be better to be like this now. Hidden away from the city, he can continue to live his own peaceful life. As for Satan, just talk more, if you like. Not to mention that they are all in-laws in the future. The more popular Satan is, he will still be useful. For example, it will be useful to help collect vitality. There are too many lives on a planet, and King K can only use his authority as a KO to let the vegetation or the planet itself borrow a little bit of vitality. After all, intelligent life has never heard of a KO, let alone Goku. However, intelligent life contains the most vitality. If nothing else, if you borrow some energy from everyone on the planet, you can reach several living planets. The role of Satan is self-evident. The key is that he has no ambition, knows the current affairs, and has a good brain. Isn't this a natural spokesperson? Closer to home, in the ring, Shalu has recovered. The eyes he looked at Gohan gradually became serious. "I take back what I said before, son Gohan. You surprised me. So, what are you going to do?" Gohan was unmoved, with a confident curve on his lips. Snort, Cell immediately had no intention of talking nonsense, but his body sank slightly, and then he put on a familiar posture, which made Gohan's eyes freeze. "Although your fighting awareness surprises me. I see the shadow of Son Goku and Piccolo in you, but your energy is not as good as mine. So will you dodge this blow, or choose to avoid it? I'm very curious, Sheru." showed a successful look, and then a blue ray of energy gradually gathered between his hands, expanded, and almost burst. Super Turtle style kicking. This move is the most basic, but also the most powerful kicking wave trick. Its characteristic is that it can be strong or weak, neutral and peaceful point. It can compete with any kicking wave. The comparison is based on the background. If the opponent is stronger, this move will be useless, but even if the opponent is only weaker, this move will not work. Unlike the magic penetrating light killing cannon, flash cannon, magic flash cannon, and Kigen cannon, which have higher bursts and can occasionally win by surprise, the main purpose of this move is to fight waves with one hand and fight to the end point. Sure enough, Gohan's expression became solemn when he heard this. Goku taught him everything he could. He knew very well that what Cell was doing was to force him to fight against waves and compete with hard power without any fancy tricks, and Cell was indeed right. Gohan's energy was weaker than his, but Gohan's next move directly raised his momentum to a whole new level. In the same posture, place your hands on your waist and assume the starting position of turtle style kicking. Chapter 128, the third round. Gohan. Piccolo looked at the huge Kigen wave gradually gathering between the two people on the stage, and his face changed slightly. Gohan was still impulsive, at least in his opinion. The others also swallowed secretly and stared at the ring nervously. However, Goku was very calm at this time, facing Bo with the Sun family. Who gave you the courage? It is true that Gohan's ki is slightly lower than Cell's, but the gap is not as big as imagined. More importantly, Gohan has completely mastered this Super Turtle style Kigen. But the two energies gradually climbed to the peak. Under everyone's nervous gaze, both parties simultaneously pushed out the energy in their palms. Boom. In the center of the two energies, a terrifying light ball appeared that seemed to gather two energies. The terrifying energy continued to stir, collide, and compress. Help, Mr. Satan. The hurricane roared and its aftermath continued to sweep across. Klin and the others could barely resist, but the ordinary people around Satan were in dire straits. They hung on Satan one by one. Satan did have some foundation. Well, just a little. He held on for about 2 seconds and then flew out. What on earth is this fighting? Boom. The wave is not over yet. Once this move is started, it can only be used to the end. Whoever relaxes first, or cannot hold on, that is the moment to decide the winner, and will bear the damage of the opponent's full blow and the backlash of his own energy at the same time. It's almost enough to decide the outcome. Cell and Gohan worked hard, and began a thrilling tug-of-war. Son. Wuhan. Cell roared angrily, and suddenly raised his energy to a high level. The energy bomb in the middle slowly pushed towards Gohan, and the energy wave surged wildly. Click. The ring beneath Gohan's feet showed cracks and almost collapsed. Hey. Not to be outdone, Gohan's energy exploded, and he pushed back forcefully. Drink. Boom. Boom boom boom. A cylindrical wave of air swept wildly around the body, and gathered in the center. This was the air driven by the two people's air. It had converged into a solid body. To be precise, the oxygen around the two people had been evacuated, and turned into a vacuum state. The ring beneath Cellu's feet was also shattered. He was shocked and roared, pushing out all the energy in his body. There is no way that I will lose. It's impossible. Sun Wufan, die. Oops. Piccolo raised his hand to block the airwaves, and noticed that the two airwaves had begun to slowly advance in the direction of Gohan. Knowing that something was wrong, he looked at Goku. Old son. Gohan can't hold it anymore. Help. Not yet. Goku raised his eyebrows and secretly estimated the timing. His heart moved slightly. Gohan wins. Piccolo didn't know why, but he still looked at the ring. I saw that at this moment, the two of them chose to fight against each other in the most direct and brutal way. Their physical strength plummeted, and they had both reached the critical point, and were on the verge of their limit point. But at this moment, when the largest air bomb was less than a few meters away from Gohan, a flash of lightning flashed across Gohan's eyes, and then golden air flames appeared mixed with red light. KO's tactics. That's right. Gohan also learned this stunt developed by Goku. Although it can only increase the power by 10 times in a short period of time, the superimposition is an extra 9 billion combat power out of thin air, including the original combat power of 45 billion. Gohan's anger increased to 54 billion at this moment, already exceeded the 50 billion of the complete share, limited by the fact that KO's fighting method is an explosive stunt. It won't work if used in advance. It will only consume too much of Gohan's energy in advance, and there will be no chance of winning point. So the timing of this use is particularly critical point, and Gohan seized this opportunity perfectly. Cell's energy was also close to the limit. There was no possibility of further explosion. This was the best opportunity. Damn it. Cell felt Gohan's energy suddenly increase sharply, and there was no more power left in his body to resist. He was suddenly filled with shock, anger, and despair. Boom. All the energy gathered together, eventually swallowing and submerging Cell. Gohan was also close to exhaustion at this moment, but he knew that this move could not touch the earth. Otherwise, even if it was not destroyed immediately, the earth would be damaged beyond repair. So raise your arms with all your strength and control the Kigen waves to fly high into the sky. Finally, the Kigen wave exploded in the sky, and white light illuminated the deep space of the universe, covering up the brilliance of all the stars. Gohan's energy was exhausted, and he stood on the ring panting violently. Even the Super Saiyan transformation had been forced to cancel. Whoosh. Raising his hand, Gohan caught the celestial beans thrown over and put them in his mouth to chew. Gohan, you must carefully sense the existence of ki, and don't be careless. Goku, what are you talking about? You've already won, haven't you? Gohan has defeated Cell. Before Klin finished speaking, except for Goku, the joy on the faces of everyone else gradually solidified. Looked at the ring in horror. I saw a figure with lightning all over his body appearing behind Gohan. The latter reacted after being reminded by Goku, but when he turned around, he still couldn't hide the shock on his face. Bang. Cell knocked Gohan away with a strike of his hand, flew directly out of the dilapidated arena, smashed a stone pillar in the distance, and collapsed suddenly. Gohan. Piccolo panicked. That angle could easily cause fatal injuries. Goku's eyes also darkened. Did Cell really turn into Lightning Cell? Although he was a little surprised, it was still within his expectation. He handed the millet to Violet, who appeared out of nowhere, and said, "Take care of it for me." Zairomi showed some signs of going berserk at this time, and his whole body exuded a terrifying arrogance. Zilulan was a little surprised. What is going on with this kid? Goku raised his hand and touched it to calm Zairomi's emotions. "Don't worry, Dad will avenge his brother." Food. Zairomi calmed down. At this time, Goku turned around and reappeared on the ring. He moved his hands, raised his head, and looked directly at the completely reborn Sheru. His eyes were as cold as a knife, and he said calmly, "Let's begin the third round, Goku. Son, you should not have let that brat Son Gohan come up, let alone tell me about the existence of Super Saiyan 2. Shalu swelled up again at this moment, confidently raised his hand and pointed at his head and said with a calm smile, "There is a chip in my head. As long as it is not destroyed, I will not really die. At the same time, I still have all of you, cells, including Namekians and Saiyans. I think you should know what this means." Hey. This guy. Outside the ring, Vegeta's eyes were filled with anger, but more importantly, he was still unwilling and dignified. He relied on constantly stimulating his potential to quickly rise to his current strength. Naturally, he knew what Shalu's words meant. In his opinion, Shalu was almost incomprehensible. Others thought the same thing, and Krillin reminded loudly and urgently, "Goku, you must not give Cell another chance. Otherwise Gohan won't die that easily." Goku reminded him speechlessly. Did he look so stupid? He would let Gohan die. Krillin and others were stunned. Then among the ruins of collapsed stone pillars in the distance, Gohan pushed away a boulder and climbed out. He jumped back and landed next to Goku. His eyes were still determined, and his aura returned to its peak. "Dad, I can still keep fighting. Go. Take care of your sister. Digest the feeling just now. Think about what I said before, and learn while watching." Although Goku's words were calm, there was no doubt point hearing this. Gohan lowered his head slightly unwillingly, but still turned around and walked away. Yes. Goku doesn't blame Gohan. He just thinks he's not calm enough. Point just before Gohan walked off the ring, Goku's voice came again. If you can complete Super Saiyan 2 before I kill Cell, I will not interfere in this duel. Yes. Gohan turned his head, and there seemed to be light flashing in his eyes. He knew that this was Goku still pointing him. Point. As long as you complete the transformation, you can avenge your shame and defeat Cell Light again. After being evolved into Lightning Cell by Cell just now, he actually had a chance to react, but he was careless. This was the root cause of Goku's dismissal. Not that he lost. Point. It's okay to lose, but you can't make mistakes where you shouldn't lose. Losing your life because of such mistakes is stupid. Gohan has grown a lot, but it's not enough. He still has room to grow. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129. A Serious Punch. Lightning Shalu lives up to his name, with lightning lingering all over his body, which is the surging energy in his body. Tsk. Zhi. Goku didn't mean to talk nonsense. He transformed directly. His eyes became sharp and cold, and the golden aura around his body appeared in the shape of a jet, mixed with the power of lightning. Super Saiyan 2. Cell's current state is technically Super Saiyan 2 because he also has Saiyan cells in his body. On the basis of Super Saiyan's 50-fold increase, Super Saiyan 2's increase will double again, reaching an astonishing 100-fold increase. If converted into numerical values, Goku's current combat power is 98 billion. Cherish is a complete 100 billion. There is a slight gap, but not too big. Goku is still sure to win, or even win completely. Whoosh. Bang bang bang. The figures of the two people were faster and more violent. They collided together instantly, flickering and colliding in the void. Each time, the air exploded instantly, and the heaven and earth shook violently. Gohan stared intently at the two figures in the sky, while the others gradually found it difficult to keep up with their rise. Okay, so fast. Gohan, feel their fighting style. Goku is going to tell you how to transform into Super Saiyan 2 now. Calm down and feel it with your heart. Piccolo reminded Gohan on the side that Goku once showed him this kind of transformation, so he also knows something about it. Yes, I understand, Uncle Piccolo. Gohan's eyes were focused, and while observing, he was also trying to mobilize the energy in his body to imitate and achieve the transformation intensity of Goku and Cell. Xiaomi was uneasy in Violet's hands, but seeing Gohan's focused look, he was sensible enough not to continue making trouble. Boom. Boom boom boom. What on earth is this? Master Satan, it's the trick now, right? Haha, ha, Satan. And others were blown away to an unknown place, and now they crawled back in embarrassment. Satan had been frightened for a long time, but when he heard the words next to him, he immediately straightened his back and laughed loudly. Yes, a trick. It must be a trick. Haha, there's nothing I can do. The camera is pointed at me. In order to accumulate popularity over the years, Satan has almost formed a conditioned reflex. Whether it is a spotlight or a camera, as long as there is one, he will immediately enter the state. I have to say, this is also a kind of talent. At the same time, Turtle Fairy House, Shishi and Bulma didn't want to go to the scene and cause trouble, so they came here together and asked the fortune teller for help. At this time, the fortune teller was asking Bulma for a price while watching TV. What are you doing? This guy really has a lot of fun. Bulma turned to look at the fortune teller who was holding onto her crystal ball and said, "Hey, fortune teller, please release 10 million to me quickly. I'm really p***d off. You broke my crystal ball just now, and now it costs at least 50 million to repair it." The fortune teller said angrily, "What? I don't know how many things like you I can buy with 50 million. Bulma was already furious, so he didn't care about her so much, so he prepared to throw her crystal ball. The fortune telling mother-in-law was so frightened that she waved her hands hurriedly. Wait. Really, there is really nothing I can do against you. The 30 million cannot be less. Really, how could that boy Goku marry such a bad-tempered little girl like you? Really? Ouch, how? I want you to be a widow. Bulma crossed his hands and asked the fortune teller to hurry up. After a while, the fortune teller finally came up with the scene. In order to keep up with the movements of Goku and Cell, the fortune teller was exhausted. In the end, I simply enlarged the divination range. Bang. Bang 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 bang. The two sides fought fiercely for a long time, using after images, Kigen waves, and all kinds of methods. The timing and fighting awareness were maximized, but the winner was never determined, which made everyone's hearts taut and extremely nervous. Damn it. That guy Kakarot has actually developed Super Saiyan 2. What on earth is Super Saiyan 2? Vegeta was furious in his heart. He was also trying to complete the transformation, but he had no clue at all. His eyes inadvertently glanced in the direction of Gohan, only to find that he had closed his eyes, and a flash of lightning flashed in front of his eyes. Terrifying. The energy seems to have begun to brew, appearing and disappearing. Isn't this kid trying to? A startling thought flashed through Vegeta's mind. High in the sky, the two people who had been fighting fiercely for a long time could not tell the winner, and they were almost evenly matched. Seeing that the time was right, Goku had no intention of wasting any more time. He suddenly stepped back a distance and released the Super Saiyan 2 transformation. What? Son Goku, do you want to admit defeat? Cheru sneered upon seeing this. It's really time to end, huh? Shalu's eyes were wary. Zhi. I saw that Goku did not transform again, but was in the form of black hair. His eyes were sharp, and he faintly exuded an aura that made Cell instinctively tremble. Suddenly, Goku moved, and suddenly a terrifying energy burst out, and a bolt of lightning flashed in front of his eyes and exploded instantly, appearing in front of Cell at a terrifying speed that was far faster than before. He punched out, boom, a thunderbolt fell, and time seemed to freeze at this moment. Cheru's horrified expression also froze at this moment, and he raised his arms to resist the blow. However, this blow directly penetrated Cheru's body, creating a big hole. Cheru was stunned, and so were the others. Satan was even more frightened. Ha ha ha, ha ha, a trick. It must be a trick. I'm sure Cheru will come back to life soon. No, that's right. That must be the case. Haha, it turned out that Satan was indeed right. Cellulite was indeed not dead, but when he looked down at the big hole in his chest, his eyes were still full of disbelief, and one of his arms was broken by Goku's punch. You, what are you, Cell? Couldn't believe it, let alone didn't want to believe it. How could Goku suddenly burst out with such strong power, a power that was no longer on the same level at all? Goku's eyes were calm, and he didn't answer. This move was his idea long ago, and even the KO strategy was just an attempt for this purpose. It was also the first time he actually used it against an enemy. The result was obvious. The power of this blow exceeded his expectation. Ding. Defeat Lightning Cell and get potential value +2. Ding. Defeat Lightning Cell and get potential value, gold, +1. Ding. Defeat Lightning Cell and gain the ability, Learning Machine. Strictly speaking, this move is not considered a unique move or a sure kill, but an explosive method similar to Kaioken. Inspired by the mysterious realm that Gohan can only develop and master in the future, a special realm where you can increase your power to the limit or even beyond the limit without transforming. Goku has been trying to understand the mysteries of this realm for a long time. Starting from his training in the Celestial Temple, he experienced countless lightning strikes and developed control over ki that far exceeded the abilities of Bobo and Celestial gods. Entered a whole new field. It was on this basis that he developed the KO fighting method in this punch. Unfortunately, it is not in that state after all. Goku can only perform it briefly when he is prepared. Chapter 130 Final Victory. Goku returned to the ground, and Cell also fell, but the latter was quite embarrassed. Cell, who fell on the ring, did not recover immediately, but blood continued to flow. The injury almost brought him to the verge of death. It seemed like an ordinary punch, but in fact it contained almost all of Goku's power. If hit on top of his head, Shalu was already dead. Reaching out to catch the cheering Xiaomi, Goku smiled. Piccolo, on the other hand, looked a little serious and a little excited, and asked, Goku, have you developed that move yet? It's still a little short, but I feel like it's not far away. Goku nodded. This punch seemed like just one blow, but it took him 10 years to reach this level. Looking at Gohan, Gohan opened his eyes with emotion at this time. His eyes were extremely bright, as if there was a charm shining in them. Goku secretly sighed at Gohan's talent point he had already sensed just now that Gohan had successfully entered the realm of Super Saiyan 2, and it was a matter of course without any obstacles even after his battle with Broly. He spent some time to get to this point. Although Gohan has his guidance, his talent is undeniable. Go and have the final say. Gohan walked to the ring again. He wanted to have a final break with Cell and wash away the shame of his defeat. Mr. Satan, that boy went up again. Is there no problem with that? Satan began to behave like a monster and pointed with his big hand. Hey, that boy, if he has already walked out of the ring, he is not qualified to challenge again. Although Sheru is a monster that destroys the world, you can't bully him like this. Come down and go home. Let me handle it. Ha ha ha. Goku and others, do you want to see what you are talking about? He is going to destroy the earth, and you still talk to him about the rules. Oh, that's not right. If Sheru didn't correct this martial arts tournament, it wouldn't be so miserable, and it would be broadcast live all over the world. In terms of weight, I'm afraid Sheru's brain circuit is on the same level as Satan's, so rounding off, Satan Vegeta, hiss, stop dawdling there. Gohan, hurry up and transform into Super Saiyan 2. Vegeta couldn't hold it anymore. To be precise, curiosity and unwillingness were destroying his sanity and mentality. After seeing the strength displayed by Goku one after another, he still looked at the moon and the water against Super Saiyan 2 and found nothing. This result made his self-esteem unacceptable, and he was even more unwilling to believe that Gohan could master this transformation in such a short time. His mentality had collapsed several times after losing to Goku, and he was almost used to it. But if another Gohan comes, he is not sure whether his mentality will explode again. Gohan didn't care about Satan and the others, but started to transform. Sizzling, sizzling, lightning intertwined, golden flames burst out in a jet shape, and a strand of golden bangs hung down in front of his forehead. This was Gohan's iconic transformation posture. The whole body seems to be emitting golden light and shining. Cell also stood up at this moment, wiped the blood from his mouth, and looked at Gohan in front of him with a solemn expression. He had lost too much energy due to Goku's blow just now. He wasn't completely sure about facing Gohan. Seeing this, Gohan turned to look at Goku. Seeing what he was thinking, Goku turned to look at Klin and said, Klin, do you still have some senzu beans? Well, there are 2 more. Goku, do you want to take them? Give one to Shalu. Everyone. Before everyone could react, a fairy bean flew towards Cell. Goku looked at Gohan with a serious expression. Gohan, you have to be responsible for what you do. I won't help you this time. Do you understand? I understand, Dad. Boom. After Cell got the fairy beans, he ate them without any hesitation. His aura returned to its peak again. Ha ha ha. Son Wufan, you are just like Son Goku. They are both so stupid and arrogant. You will be held responsible for your actions. Pay the price. Really. Swish. Bang. Ha. Cell instantly raised his hand to block Gohan's attack. Feeling this strength that was no worse than his own, Cell's expression became solemn, followed by a smile. Gohan also smiled and punched hard, and he and Cell were in a fierce fight again. The 4th round, the real last round, begins the battle. Boom. Boom boom boom. There is nothing fancy or superfluous. Gohan and Cell engage in the most primitive duel. The fists and feet of the 2 sides constantly collide with each other, causing thunderous vibrations and loud noises, and thunder rolls between heaven and earth. The depressing atmosphere lasted for a whole half day. Gilu, what kind of battle is this? It's so amazing. Rice. Beat. Goku couldn't help but frown. After fighting to this point, Gohan's performance has made him very satisfied. With 90 billion combat power and Cell's 100 billion, Gohan's strength is enough to catch up with Vegeta for several years. What's more important is that Gohan's use of fighting rhythm and fighting consciousness has made him a completely mature warrior and martial artist. Whether he can win against Cheryl is actually not that important anymore. He still has room and time to grow, but Cheryl does not have such a chance. Goku thought about taking action to help Gohan end this duel early, but he immediately rejected this decision. No matter what, this duel must have a winner, which is more important to Gohan, Turtle, Pi, Kai, in the sky. The two people who had been fighting fiercely until now had reached their limit and had to start another round of desperate struggle. Cell also went crazy. Sun Wuhan. Die. Achievement. Boom. The air was instantly evacuated, and the sharp explosion of air squeezing roared between the sky and the earth. Two blue energy blasts were blasted out almost in no particular order, blasting together, intertwining again, and collapsing. But, here, it comes again. Don't be afraid. It's all just tricks, Mr. Satan. Ah, Satan. And others were blown away, but this time number 16 couldn't bear it and rescued them. Gohan. Come on, Gohan, Mr. Gohan. Food. Rice. Everyone held their breath and cheered for Gohan. Even Vegeta had to admit in his heart at this moment that Gohan's strength had surpassed him. Goku frowned. At this moment, he was not sure whether Gohan could win. He couldn't see how much potential Gohan still had, but Gohan's energy was almost the same as Cell's at the moment, and that slight difference was no longer enough to judge the final outcome. So the competition now is perseverance. Sighing slightly, Goku closed his eyes and sent out a thought. Boom. The two Ki were constantly squeezing and pulling back and forth in the sky. Gohan also suffered a lot of injuries and his physical strength was almost exhausted. In front of him was the huge energy that covered the sky and the sun, which could swallow him up at any time. He was almost in a desperate situation. Cell was in the same situation at the moment. Under the desperate situation, Cell roared unwillingly, Sun Wuhan. Die. A burst of energy pushed the energy in Gohan's direction. The situation was extremely critical. At this moment, Goku's voice came to his ears, and in a daze, a hand was placed on his shoulder. Gohan, go ahead, use all your strength. Although he was exhausted, Gohan believed in Goku's words without any doubt or wavering. With a roar, the pinch energy deeper in Gohan's body was stimulated, and the surrounding air was instantly evacuated. The airwaves rolled, and the monstrous energy seemed to have returned to its peak, even stronger, and directly pushed the energy towards Cell. What? No. Boom. Shall lose. Figure was completely submerged in the energy, and disappeared. Gohan exhausted all his strength and his vision was in a daze, but it was not until he felt Cell's energy completely dissipated that he relaxed, and fell from the air. Chapter 131 Underworld Martial Arts Conference. Gohan won and defeated Cell. Mr. Satan, what happened just now? Hahaha. It's hard to explain this to you, but of course it was me, Mr. Satan, who saved the world in the end. Well, that's right. Hahaha. King, the army has withdrawn. Do you need to go and invite the man who lives in Baozi Mountain? Well, don't bother him. By the way, don't bother the other Earth warriors either. I'm going to visit Kalinta. Yes, I will arrange the helicopter now. The capital of the West, the Bulma family. In order to celebrate this victory and send Trunks off at the same time, a grand celebration banquet was held. Really, that Satan is really annoying. It's obvious that everyone worked so hard to defeat Cell. That is to say, there should be at least a bonus, right? Who? But why are you a woman here? She was very unhappy with Zieluolan, who was holding Xiaomi. She always felt that this woman had other agendas. Violet spread her hands and said that she was just here to join in the fun. Ah, you leaving today? Well, Aunt Bulma, Mr. Goku, thank you very much for taking care of me during this time. Goku waved his hand, then looked at Bulma and asked doubtfully, Bulma, where is your sister Tacy? Why haven't you seen her coming? What he actually wanted to ask about was Little Trunks. Although history had changed because of him, Little Trunks was indeed born, but Taz didn't seem to have brought Little Trunks back once. Hey, don't mention it. Bulma showed a very speechless expression inside. When I called last time, my sister was no longer on the earth. She seemed to have had a quarrel with Vegeta, and then she left Vegeta at home. I took little Trunks on a trip to the universe, and haven't been back for half a year. With a twitch in the corner of his eye, Goku secretly sighed that evil people still need to be punished by evil people. If we follow the original timeline, a few years after little Trunks was born, Vegeta had a hard-to-find attitude, which made Bulma grow older, and have to take care of little Trunks. And I have to serve this uncle again. My life is not happy, and I'm exhausted mentally and physically. It's good this time. Tacy is not used to Vegeta's problems. Do you like to eat or not? Do you want to wash your clothes and pants by yourself? Are you having trouble? You can go there by yourself. I will take your son away. The main character is an independent woman with a clear vision and forward thinking. Goku could already imagine how miserable it was for Vegeta to wash and cook by himself. No wonder it was like he hadn't eaten in years during the banquet. Trunks touched his nose, obviously expecting this situation, and glanced at Vegeta in the distance. I'm very happy to see Dad, Mr. Goku, and not Bulma. Mom is a very optimistic person. A cheerful person. She told me that everyone is a good person, and even if we all die one day, we will meet in heaven. So she never feels sad. It does sound like what my sister would say. Bulma smiled. Although they didn't have much contact, the sisters understood each other very well. Snort. At this time, Vegeta walked over, and Goku and Bulma walked away tacitly without disturbing him. This can be regarded as the beginning of Vegeta's change. At least he recognized Trunks not long after. Trunks took the time machine and left this time and space, returning to his future world. Vegeta ran away without knowing. When he was full, he probably went to practice hard again, holding his breath and waiting for the opportunity to challenge Goku. Everyone else had about the same meal and chatted with each other, and the scene was filled with a happy atmosphere. At the end of the banquet, everyone left one after another. Gohan looked after Xiaomi, Piccolo stayed on the side, and Bulma walked out of the house. It's really strange. Where is Goku? Gohan, Xiaomi, have you seen your father? Gohan raised his head and said with some distress, Dad was here just now. It seems that Mom was angry and Dad was called away by her. It's true, Shishi. Isn't it all over? Bulma shook his head, walked over and picked up Xiaomi, and walked into the house. Forget it. Ignore him. Gohan, I prepared hot milk. You will be here today. Let's play with Xiaomi. Piccolo, don't be so sullen. Gohan defeated that cell this time. He should take a few days off, right? Piccolo, my face was born like this. I'm so sorry. After glancing at Gohan and finding that he was also looking at him, Piccolo nodded, acquiesced in giving him a day off, and then flew away. Needless to say, Gohan is not at Baozi Mountain. He is not at his own plateau. No, he should have moved to the Celestial Temple now. He probably will not leave there in the future. Gohan no longer needs his guidance. At the same time, Baozi Mountain, HMM. Goku, wait, there will never be a next time about Gohan. Did you hear that? About an hour ago, Shishi was furious because Goku asked Gohan to deal with Cell and was injured. In the end, Goku had no choice but to endure being scolded. Who said this was the truth? Being trained by Shishi gave Goku a headache, and he couldn't bear it anymore. He suddenly remembered a very important thing, that is, the little Goten seemed to have not been created yet, and looked at Shishi who was still chattering angrily. So he just hugged Shishi and teleported back to Baozi Mountain. After a sleepless night, the fighting on Baozi Mountain continued all night. A few days later, the Goku family returned to normal life. Gohan still has to practice every day, but he has reduced the time for practice and increase the time for studying. Therefore, Goku no longer needs to guide Gohan in his practice every day, and he doesn't need it either. Gohan only needs to maintain his self-cultivation every day, and will not degenerate. For this reason, Goku spent a lot of effort to convince Shishi. On the contrary, Bulma has begun to consider letting Xiaomi get involved in martial arts, which gives Goku a headache. On the Bun Mountain, Goku and Gohan looked at Xiaomi who was still wearing a small skirt in front of them, just reaching Goku's knees. Her hair was short black, but her eyes were blue. The genes of the Brai family are so strong that Goku seriously doubts that this little guy would even be able to keep his hair if he wasn't half a Chuancheo. Gohan scratched his head, looked at Xiaomi in front of him, and then at Goku. Dad, does Xiaomi really want to start practicing? But she is still so young. Huh? Xiaomi glared at him and folded his hands angrily, but he was not majestic at all, but rather cute. Goku squatted down with a smile, looked at his daughter and said, Xiaomi, was it you who told your mother that you wanted to practice? His eyes lit up. The little guy was not very good at talking yet. He nodded repeatedly and looked very interested. But Goku didn't know where to teach him for a while. This kind of interest was exactly the same as when he was a child, but Xiaomi was still too young, only a little over 2 years old. What was Goku doing when he was 2 years old? It seemed like he was still being carried around by Son Gohan. Thinking of this, Goku suddenly smiled, raised his hand to pick up Xiaomi, and said with a smile, Xiaomi, how about you follow Dad first? Dad will take you to meet other martial arts masters, and I will teach you whatever you want to learn. What? After getting the agreement, Goku also smiled fondly, so it would be easier to handle. It is definitely not possible to start teaching now. At least you have to wait until you have completely learned how to speak. Otherwise, how can you teach if communication is difficult? But Goku also has a way. Xiaomi's talent is extremely high, even more than that of Gohan. After watching the turtle-style Kigen and Wukong Jutsu a few times, he can master it without a teacher. It would definitely be good for her to see more. Chapter 132 Old Fox. Dad, where are you going to take Xiaomi? Gohan also looked interested. Goku explained. Kao told me not long ago that the underworld was going to hold a martial arts competition and asked me to participate on behalf of the North Galaxy. I heard that there are many underworld masters, so I'm going to have a look. Then, Gohan looked at Goku expectantly. Goku's teachings are very successful, not only because of his strength, but also his love for martial arts. This is the most important thing. Without this love, his talent will be wasted sooner or later. You have to ask your mother about this. Goku spread his hands. His previous battle with Cell had already made Shishi very unhappy. It had only been quiet for a few days. Shishi would be damned if he could agree to go with Gohan. After returning home, with Goku's encouragement, Gohan went to find Shishi on his own. No, Gohan, you have to study hard, you know. As expected, Shishi refused directly and handed a bowl of rice to Goku. After taking it, he started eating the rice, pretending not to see Gohan's look for help. There's no point in begging me. Super Saiyans also need to eat, so I can't afford to offend them. Goku, and so are you. You are not allowed to take Xiaomi to that hell martial arts tournament. How dangerous it is. Does Bulma know? Goku was dumbfounded. I haven't said anything yet. Exchanging a look with Gohan, he finished his meal like a storm, and then Gohan took Xiaomi and slipped out. Mom, I took Xiaomi to play with the quick dragon. Gohan, have you finished your homework? Goku, go and find Gohan. As soon as Shishi turned his head, Goku had disappeared. Sora, the loud sound startled many birds and beasts on Baozi Mountain and scattered them in all directions. In the underworld, Goku found Kinkei. Oh, this is Babris and Gilligly. Hello. Gohan greeted Kinkei's two pets politely. Xiaomi curiously grabbed Babris's tail, but was not affected by Kao's 10 times gravity at all. At this time, Kinkei ran out of his small house in a hurry and looked at Gohan in front of him. Gohan was startled, and he leaned back slightly, but still said politely, hello. Well, that's very good. You are Son Gohan, the son of Goku. I have already seen what you have done. It is quite amazing that you can become a Super Saiyan too. Ha. Kinkei's old habit is back, and his laugh is low. Gohan looked at Goku in confusion, and Goku pointed at Kinkei and introduced. This is Kinkei. The Kaioken and Vitality Bomb I taught you are the unique skills he developed. Well, blah. I didn't expect you to even learn the Vitality Bomb. You are such a kind and good boy. Kinkei didn't know about this. He only knew that Goku taught Gohan Kaioken. but he didn't expect that he even taught him the vitality bomb point. Unlike Kaioken, anyone can practice it, and he has taught basically everyone who comes here. Point vitality bombs have special requirements. People who do not have a righteous heart cannot master the vitality bombs, and if the mind is pure enough, you can even directly integrate the vitality bombs into your body, like Goku once did to achieve an explosion of strength in a short time. Increased effect point. This is a very special Nirvana, Kao-sama, the martial arts tournament you mentioned before. Goku brought up business directly. The purpose of this trip was this underworld martial arts tournament. Point. The dead martial arts masters from the entire 7th universe were gathered together to hold a grand ceremony. Although there may not be many strong ones, it was still worth watching. Point. Apart from anything else, the combat power must start at a few thousand or tens of thousands. Otherwise, who among the few realm kings would have the nerve to pull them out? I'm afraid it won't be a big one on the spot. Point. There is also a king of the west who cannot deal with King K. He has a guy named Peribrice. His strength is probably between Super Saiyan full power and Super Saiyan 2. It is worth fighting. Well, although you are living people, it is not in line with the rules to participate in the martial arts competition in the underworld, but the king of the realm likes to watch, so it should not be a big problem. King K muttered with some musings. It's really strange to talk about this matter. The great Kao-sama has not appeared for a long time. To suddenly hold such a grand event is really a once in a 100-year event in the underworld. PFFT. As he said that, King K turned around, suppressing laughter and trembling shoulders. Great. God helps me. With Goku and Gohan taking action, I must make those 3 guys look good. 2 Super Saiyan 2s will definitely scare those guys. Wow. Hahaha. Kao-sama, why are you laughing? Did I laugh? Goku, Gohan, the corner of your mouth is harder to press than the AK. At this moment, Xiaomi had already grabbed Babulus and ran back. This Chaos pet is a big challenge for a being with a combat power of less than 3000, especially on this planet with 10 times the gravity superior. But to Xiaomi, he was just an ordinary monkey, being dragged back by his tail with a confused expression. Xiaomi, don't be rude. Gohan hurriedly picked up Xiaomi and apologized to Babulus. The monkey was not angry at all. Oh, this child is not simple either. King K also noticed Xiaomi at this time and was talking to Goku just now. Goku smiled. Not only is it simple, but if he fully awakens and masters the power of Chu and Cheo, Xiaomi's potential will be as high as Broly's. It's completely monster level, with unlimited potential. Immediately, Goku and Gohan, along with Xiaomi, followed King K to the airport in the underworld, and then took a plane to the King of K. Don't ask why the transportation in the underworld is airplane. Ask just to keep pace with the times the plane passed through thick golden clouds, and a planet 100 times the size of King K appeared above the clouds. The layout and environment above could be vaguely seen, as well as individual figures. Not long after, several people landed on the Great Realm King. Walking along the broad main road towards the palace of the King of K. There are many strong men from various universes along the way. As expected by Goku, they are all existences with tens of thousands of fighting power. They can hardly be found on any living planet. It is impossible for so many strong men to be born naturally. Supreme K would not even dare to create such a planet and life race, as it would destroy the balance of the universe. This combat power can already destroy most planets. Otherwise, the Saiyans wouldn't be called a fighting race. Oh, who is this? Isn't it King K? Oh my, King of the Western Realm. It's been such a long time since I last saw you. I didn't expect you to still be alive. What did you say? King K, are you cursing me to death? How could that be? I'm just caring about you. You, King K of the West, is a small man with the word written on his clothes, which is a symbol of identity. He and King K have been at odds with each other for many years. At this moment, he was scolded by King K and felt very bad, but then he noticed Goku, Gohan, and Xiaomi behind King K. King K, if I read correctly, these should be living people, right? It's against the rules for you to bring living people here. Goku and Gohan are recommended by me to participate in the martial arts competition, and Lord Daike Wang has agreed. Is that so? King K of the West looked at King K suspiciously. This old fox exclamation point asterisk to chapter 133 Underworld Conference Finals, Father and Son Showdown. In fact, King K also felt guilty. After all, it was against the rules to allow living people to enter the underworld, but he was certain that the great K1 would not pursue this matter for no other reason. Goku killed Frieza, so it seems that Goku only has some friendship with King K. In fact, the entire underworld has accepted him as a favor. Otherwise, the King of K in the original work is so panicked that he may not see it even once in hundreds of years. Why would he come out specially? Meet Goku point. Although this martial arts competition is a spur of the moment, I'm afraid that the King of the Realm also secretly observed what happened on the earth before he came up with the impromptu idea. The reward for the competition champion is also very simple, and you can get guidance from the King of the World. No matter how you look at it, it looks like a tailor-made reward for Goku. Unfortunately, after seeing Goku's strength, the King of K discovered that there seemed to be nothing to teach him, so he could only fool him. Anyway, Goku didn't come here to seek advice from the King of the Realm. He could just participate in the Underworld Martial Arts Tournament. In a huge venue, built on the Death Star. The first martial arts conference in the Underworld begins now. In this tournament, masters from the 4 major galaxies of the East, South, West, and North recommended by each KO will compete to determine the final winner. The final champion will receive guidance from the great KO-sama. Okay, now the conference officially begins. Wow, countless martial arts masters from the universe cheered at the scene. This atmosphere cannot be seen on the earth. The martial arts of the earth has gradually declined. If Goku hadn't asked the gods and cat immortals to train some martial arts masters, I'm afraid that in a few years even the martial arts inheritance will be completely cut off. The occasional 1 or 2 won't change anything. Bang. Bang bang. The pace was fast, and it was originally a spur of the moment idea, so it was not so formal. All the people on stage were martial arts masters recommended by the 4 kings of the realm. There are some strange looking masters under other case, especially the Western K who also has a general named Pork Rice. Goku and Gohan have noticed before that this person is not weak in strength. King K is more miserable. Frieza has been running rampant in his territory for so many years he didn't dare to provoke Frieza, and the result was that anyone with some strength in Bin, let alone a martial artist, was either killed by Frieza or directly incorporated into Frieza's legion. Once you become the latter, even if you die, you will go directly to the underworld, and it is impossible to come to the Great Realm King to practice. This is a privilege. Ding. Defeat the Trisolaran people, gain energy, and increase your ki by 40,000. Ding. Defeat, and your energy will increase by 30,000. Byte. Combat. Power +1+1+1+1+1. Mosquito legs are also meat. These martial arts masters in the underworld are already quite powerful, and they are all encompassing. They even have some special talents and skills that have emerged, which is an unexpected gain. Ding. Defeat the lizard star, and obtain the skill, water breathing. Ding. Defeat the Medema people, and get the skill, fusion. Ding. Defeat the Adelites, and obtain the skill, separation. Although most of them are useless skills, there are also many that look good, such as fusion. Goku was still thinking about whether to go to the Medema people to learn from him, but unexpectedly, he suddenly revealed it, which was an unexpected gain. Contestant Son Goku wins. Qualifies for the finals. There was another burst of cheers at the scene, and the defeated East KO and South KO were already gnashing their teeth. Damn it, King K, where did you find this guy? This is a foul. I want to file a complaint against you. Higashi KO is the only female among the 4 Chaos, a middle-aged aunt image. Oh, I'm so sorry. Goku has permission from the great KO-sama. King K grinned almost to the back of his ears. Damn it, the King of East K could only be so angry that his teeth almost broke. Goku also walked off the ring at this time, and Xiaomi immediately flew over. Dad. The little guy was very happy at this time. He flew around and saw all kinds of aliens. Everything he saw was novel. He pointed at Gohan and said, "Fan, rice, it's brother." Gohan was a little speechless. No matter how many times he corrected him, Xiaomi couldn't change it at all. He shook his head. When he heard the host calling him, he looked solemn and walked towards the ring and nodded to Goku. Be careful, the pork rib rice is very fast. Goku warned, and then smiled again. But as long as you play normally, you should be able to win. Well, I understand, Dad. Gohan nodded again and walked onto the ring. Goku didn't expect that, because Gohan also came. The person facing the pork rib rice became Gohan. The strength of pork rib rice was shown twice in the original work. The first time was when he hit Celu by surprise at extremely fast speed, but that was a sneak attack. In addition, Celu had already gone to hell, so his strength was not actually there at its peak point, and the second performance was against Goku. In full power form. Goku was almost cornered by the rib rice, which was very tricky, especially with his extremely fast speed. Therefore, based on a comprehensive evaluation, the overall strength of spare rib rice should be equivalent to the full power of Super Saiyan, and is no match for Gohan. Boom. The result was as expected. Although Gohan also resisted the lightning wave of pork rice with insufficient intelligence and was a little embarrassed, he chose to use the most direct method. After resisting Shanghai, he decisively used Super Turtle style Kigen to directly blast the pork rib rice off the ring. The huge power almost affected the audience at the venue. If this attack continues, most of the venue will be destroyed. Fortunately, Gohan finally raised the direction of the attack, which did not cause too many casualties. Hehehe. When the King of K saw this blow, he laughed happily. It's really awesome. Super Saiyan 2. The image of the day KO is that of a fashionable old man wearing sunglasses. Apart from the recognizable clothes and hat, Goku feels a little familiar inexplicably. Much like Kame Sennin. The sunglasses reflected a ray of light, and he looked at Goku, who was standing next to King K, thoughtfully. Oh, where did you come from, kid? This is the fairy fruit that only the great KO-sama is entitled to enjoy. Catch her. Don't let him get away. At this moment, several of the guards around the King of K shouted hurriedly. The King of K lowered his head and saw that it was Xiaomi, who ran over at some point. When he saw the fruit plate placed next to him, he ate it directly. Although the little guy is still young, his air dance is very fast. These guards are of average strength, and they didn't catch him. Instead, they were tricked by Xiaomi. Xiaomi flew to the fruit plate again and ate the remaining fruits in one go, making her little face bulge. Gua. Noticing the look in the king's eyes, Xiaomi handed him the last fruit. Her big blue eyes were full of innocence, as if she was asking him if he wanted to eat. Ha. Ha ha ha. Dake-sama. This child is. The other four kings were so frightened that they hurried over, especially King K, who was sweating profusely. Goku also had a headache. Xiaomi, come back quickly. Xiaomi flew in front of Goku without any consciousness of causing trouble, and she really didn't understand. It doesn't matter. The King K stopped laughing and raised his hand to signal King K not to be nervous. Instead, he looked at Goku and said, "You are Son Goku, right? I know you. Super Saiyan 2 is very powerful. I hope to see the peak showdown between your father and son. Don't worry about damaging this place." Chapter 134, A Great Harvest. The last match of the Underworld Martial Arts Tournament will pit Son Goku from Northern Galaxy against Son Wuhan, also from Northern Galaxy. These two contestants have a father-son relationship. A tiger father has no dog son. It is really an anticipated competition. So without further ado, the finals of the first martial arts tournament in the underworld begin now. The atmosphere at the scene reached its peak, with countless cheers and shouts of support coming and going, which could not be stopped at all, and the blood of those listening was boiling. Hehehe. It's really good. This kind of competition should be held earlier. The happiest person is the king of the realm. At this time, Xiaomi stopped messing around and sat next to the king of the realm. He seemed to be looking forward to the next battle, with his eyes sparkling. Gilu. Several realm kings were also very nervous. After all, judging from their previous performances, the intensity of this duel was probably unimaginable. They are not ordinary people, but realm kings who maintain the balance of the universe. Their own strength may not be strong, But when it comes to knowledge, then they are undoubtedly the top group in the universe. Not to mention them, even none of the martial artists present were simple. Even if they couldn't see clearly, it didn't prevent them from experiencing the excitement and intensity of this duel. That's why there was this unprecedented and lively scene. On the ring, Goku looked at Gohan in front of him without any timidity. His eyes were calm and determined. Goku nodded and said with a smile, "Gohan, you must have been looking forward to this battle for a long time, Dad." Gohan hesitated, then nodded seriously, and admitted frankly, "Yes, Dad, I have been chasing after you, but it seems that I will always be catching up, so I'm looking forward to it. Fight with you once." Goku didn't speak anymore. That was enough. Gohan could do anything, as long as he made up his mind. From the moment he chose to defeat Cell alone, Gohan no longer needed his protection, and was already an outstanding martial artist and warrior. With a slightly solemn look on his face, Goku transformed directly, surrounded by golden aura and lightning. Drink. The same goes for Gohan, who directly transformed into Super Saiyan 2. The father and son both know each other too well, and are familiar with each other, so there is no need to test and consume each other. The golden arrogance shot straight into the sky, and the brilliant golden light illuminated the entire venue. The terrifying sense of oppression almost made everyone present feel suffocated. Oops. East K-Wang hurriedly covered his hat that was about to blow off, and said in horror, "King K, where did you find these two monsters? Isn't this too exaggerated?" Ha ha ha, how is it? Not bad, right? King K was also blown to the point where he could not stand firmly at this time, but he still held on and showed a proud look, holding his head high like a victorious rooster. "King K, stop pretending. Help." The king of the Western realm was the smallest and was blown up by the strong hurricane. When he was leaving, he grabbed King K's robe and dragged him to stagger. "King of the West, let go." "No, I will hold you back even to death." Damn it. On the ring, the father and son, who had already finished their blowing, started the fiercest showdown without any nonsense. Bang. Boom. Boom. The punches hit the flesh, and every collision erupted with a shocking loud noise. Visible aftermath spread to the ring. Visible cracks spread from the feet of the two people until they spread to the edge of the arena. This pork rib Rice was on the sidelines. He was one of the few strong men who could withstand the ki suppression released by the two men, but at this moment, seeing the full strength of the two men, he also felt horrified. Is this the true strength of those two people? Bang! Seeing that the arena was unusable, Goku and Gohan launched themselves into the sky with a single blow. 100 meters away, the two of them who had just stabilized their bodies gathered energy at the same time and blasted out a turtle-style kicking. Boom! Dazzling white light fell from the sky, as if a great sun appeared out of thin air. There was no winner in this attack, and the white light had not yet dissipated. The sound of fierce confrontation and collision had already sounded from the center of the explosion. There were no unnecessary fancy skills or tactical competitions. Goku has given everything he can teach to Gohan, even if there are some strategies. Gohan knows them very well. For example, the Sun Fist, the turning air bomb, and even the KO technique. In fact, as long as you have sharp enough perception and reaction, it is not difficult to deal with these, and it is of no use to Gohan. Similarly, Gohan also knows that these abilities cannot be effective against Goku, but may be used by him to counterattack. So he simply does not use them. The father and son fought hard with fists and used Kigen waves to fight from time to time. While consuming each other, they also paid attention to their own and each other's ki. This is the most brilliant tactic. During the duel, reduce the opponent's energy as much as possible and control your own consumption. Everything is to increase the chance of winning at the final moment, when the outcome is decided. Gohan was able to defeat Cell, even though his fighting power was slightly weaker, because he used this tactic. Unfortunately, this tactic was also taught to him by Goku himself. So there was no miracle in the end result. Boom. A Super Turtle Sect Kigen duel. The aftermath directly destroyed the entire venue of the Underworld Martial Arts Conference. And even the huge barrier specially set up by the King of K was torn apart. At the critical moment, the King of K teleported everyone back directly. Great K Wang, the winner of the first martial arts tournament in the underworld, is Son Goku from North Galaxy. Wow, the entire Great Realm King was filled with excitement and cheers. The excitement of this unprecedented battle not only feasted their eyes, but also opened up the martial arts culture of the underworld. Starting from this, even after 1,000 years, in the countless underworld martial arts conference, this duel is still regarded as a legend by many martial arts masters. Dat, Fanfan. Xiaomi flew over and cheered, flying around the two of them like an elf. Hey, that's really good. I have decided to grant you the right to enter and leave the underworld freely, but the Great Chaos came over, followed by 4 other chaos. Many martial arts masters surrounded the place. There was respect in their eyes, but also a fighting spirit. After the Great Chaos walked in front of him, he suddenly changed the subject and said to Goku, "But you are not from the underworld after all, so the rewards for winning this martial arts competition cannot be exchanged for you. You can put forward a condition." Goku smiled and didn't care. In his opinion, the Daikao's advice was unnecessary. "Thank you very much, Mr. Daikao. I do have one thing I want to ask you to agree to." The King of the Realm was a little confused. He just said it casually, thinking that Goku wouldn't like anything from the underworld. Is there anything good in the underworld? Why doesn't he know about it? Half an hour later, the underworld, Yama Demon Palace. Boom. The sound of heavy objects hitting the table was heard, followed by the furious voice of Yama King. "What did you say? This guy Goku took away all my fairy fruits." Yes, Lord Yama, this is allowed by Lord King of the Realm, so we don't dare to stop it. The Red Ghost and Blue Ghost in Hell said it truthfully. Both of them also looked aggrieved. King Yama, on the other hand, was so angry that he almost couldn't breathe, rolled his eyes and fainted. Afterwards, the King of the Realm felt something was wrong, so he found another golden apple tree from somewhere and planted it in the underworld as compensation to King Yama. Chapter 135. I'm afraid you can't take it with me. Ding. Defeat Super Saiyan 2 Son Gohan and get potential value +5. Ding. Defeat Super Saiyan 2 Son Gohan and get potential value, gold, +1, since defeating Broly last time. Goku hasn't gained so much potential for a long time. The key is golden potential, which is so rare. Host, Son Goku Bloodline, Saiyan, Intermediate Warrior, age 27. Key, Combat Power 1,018,15, potential value, gold. 10 skills, Super Turtle Style Kicking, Kaioken, Vitality Bomb, Dancing Sky Technique, 10,000 Kingdoms Shocking Palm, Darkness Control, Medama Star Combination Technique, Superpowers, Gravity Control, 20 times Gravity, Soul Exchange, Telekinesis, Universe Survival, Devil's Blessing, Water Breathing. The Saiyan blood in his body seems to be boiling, and his potential seems to be released at any time. Goku took a deep breath to calm himself down. After the battle with Cell and this trip to the underworld, Goku's basic combat power has reached 1 billion. Now his potential is overflowing, which is undoubtedly another good news for him. However, it is estimated that the potential release this time will not be small, so Goku does not plan to mess around on the Earth. Otherwise, I'm afraid it will attract the attention of Supreme K and even Angel Whis. If Whis accidentally wakes up Beerus in advance, Goku will be a little numb. He really doesn't know how to deal with this moody god of destruction. The only way he could think of was probably to use his strength to make the other party communicate with him calmly. After returning to Earth, Goku took Gohan and Xiaomi back home. At dinner time, Shishi prepared the meal as usual, and Bulma also came over, seeming to be in a good mood. Did Xiaomi go there too? Really? I haven't been to the underworld yet. I heard what you said, and I want to go there too. It's good to see in advance where you're going to go after you die. By the way, what does heaven look like? Goku, well, I'll take you there to have a look some other time when I have time. It's quite good. May I? No problem. The King of the Realm has given us the privilege of entering and exiting the underworld freely, although he didn't say that he could bring others there. It was pretty much the same, and it was impossible for the Great Realm King to hold him accountable for such a trivial matter, so Bulma started to look forward to it. Goku's attention at this time was not on this matter, but on Shishi. Shishi had not spoken a word since they came back. Judging from his experience, Shishi is really angry. It may also be that his body has undergone some changes, so Shishi's mood is not very stable. This was also the case when he gave birth to Gohan. Goku did not dare to speak actively for fear that Shishi would suddenly go crazy. Glancing at Gohan, the boy was also wilted now. He just kept his head down and ate, and he obviously noticed something was wrong in the atmosphere. Xiaomi, are you happy today? Fun. Xiaomi nodded happily, his eyes particularly bright. Bulma was also very happy, coaxing the little girl to be happy, creating a harmonious scene of a loving mother and a filial daughter. Two completely opposite atmospheres are intertwined, which seems particularly strange. The next day, the Temple of Heaven. The entire heavenly temple seemed to have experienced a great war at this moment. It was dilapidated and in urgent need of repair. Goku didn't bring Gohan and Xiaomi with him this time. In order to appease Shishi, Gohan stayed at home to do his homework. It is estimated that it will be difficult for him to come out later, which is pitiful. Goku didn't find Piccolo in the Celestial Temple, but got an unexpected piece of information. Something happened to Piccolo. Has Slug been here already? Bobo looked very anxious at this moment, shed tears, and explained, after you and Gohan left, Piccolo and the gods led Slag here. They had already won the battle, but Slag didn't know what method he used. It actually forcibly absorbed Piccolo and the god, and its strength became very terrifying. However, the consciousness of Piccolo and the god was still there, so Slag could only escape from here and enter the gate of the devil world. Bobo looked at Goku and asked for help. Goku, you must save the gods and Piccolo. I see. Goku frowned. He was not expecting that Piccolo would suddenly have an accident, and judging from Bobo's description, Slug was able to forcibly absorb fusion and kill Piccolo. This is a little weird. The Namekians have a talent, which is that when they encounter danger, they confuse with each other and become a new individual. The fused party will retain part of its memory and personality, and the other party will be the main personality. The strengths and talents of the two will be completely integrated and become stronger. Piccolo and God are one and the same. Fusion can only be regarded as a restoration. The real fusion should be like Piccolo and Naru. Naru was someone who was seriously injured and on the verge of death, knowing that his time was running out, and took the initiative to be killed by fusion, which greatly improved Piccolo's combat talent and potential. But Slidger obviously didn't belong to any of these situations. Forcibly absorbing it didn't look like something a kind-hearted Namekian could do, but rather a demon. It's true that Slug's identity is a Namekian, but a different kind of evil Namekian. Goku went directly to the Demon Realm Gate. After arriving at the Demon Realm Gate, Goku was stunned for a moment. He sensed that a familiar energy had entered the demon world. Then he walked in without thinking too much. Passing through the gate of the Demon Realm is the Demon Realm, Shuristar. Goku has not been here for a long time. Bang bang, boom. In the sky above Shuristar, two figures were fighting, and the entire Shuristar was affected and riddled with holes. Mirror and Mora appeared in a flash. Grown ups. Goku frowned slightly, looked at the two figures fighting in the sky, and asked, what's going on? How did Slug know that there is a gate to the devil here? Mora reacted quickly and realized something immediately, explaining, Slug is an evil Namekian trained by the black magician Babidi. Not long ago, Vegeta came to find me to help transform and repair the universe spaceship. After the meeting, they started fighting. Babidi, yes. Goku didn't expect that Slug was related to Babidi. Looking up at the sky, Vegeta was faintly suppressed by Slug. It can be seen that after Fusion Piccolo, Slug's strength has reached the second level of Super Saiyan stage, even the full power level. It was unclear whether Piccolo had been completely eliminated by Slug's fusion. Goku did not dare to waste time and rushed forward. Boom. Golden gas flames spurted out, mixed with lightning, and Goku completely suppressed and defeated Slug in a few moves. Ding. Defeat the evil Namekian Slug and gain potential +2. Who are you? Slug was shocked. But Goku didn't have the time to talk to him at the moment. He frowned at Slug and said in a deep voice, Piccolo, you should still be here, right? Having been together for so long, he and Piccolo were considered friends and Gohan's first teacher. If Piccolo disappeared, it would be difficult for Gohan to accept this fact. Old son. After a while, Piccolo's voice came, and Slag's face twisted. Piccolo's difficult voice came again. Do it quickly, and then use the Dragon Ball of Namek to revive me, otherwise it will be too late. It shouldn't be that troublesome. Goku breathed a sigh of relief. Piccolo hasn't been completely fused yet, so it's too late. He raised his hand, and released a mysterious light that shrouded Slag's body. The next moment, Slag's body gradually expanded and twisted, split in two from the middle, and Piccolo's figure separated into a beam of light, and recovered again. Slag's energy also plummeted at this time, directly falling to less than 1 billion combat power, which was worse than androids 17 and 18. Goku directly fired a Kigen wave to send him away, but a sudden change occurred, and a red light shot out from beside him. Goku ducked sideways, but then the sound of two heavy blows came. Piccolo and Beige the tower was knocked out. Hey, Saiyan, I want to take this Namekian away. Goku turned around, a cold light appeared in his eyes, and said solemnly, I'm afraid you can't take it with me. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136. A more terrifying Broly. A strong demon with a blue combat uniform, a white cloak, a pair of sharp horns on his head and a pair of long ears, and his whole body is red. The moment he appeared, countless demons and the entire Shura planet knelt down and worshipped on the ground. Even the demon dragon guarding the gate of the demon world prostrated and lowered its head. On Shura Star, Mira hesitated for a moment and then knelt down respectfully, but Mira looked a little excited. The king of the demon world, Dapura, this overlord of the demon world. If it weren't for the M on his forehead, Goku wouldn't have recognized him for a while. He felt the breath of black magic and dark manipulation from above. This top-notch black magic can even be controlled by Dapura, the king of the demon world. Really? Dapura condensed a long sword-like energy in his hand and swung it directly towards Goku, who started a fierce battle with him. Dapura had complete strength in the demon world, but in terms of energy, it was comparable to Super Saiyan 2. Don't worry about appearing here, it must be under Babita's instructions. Swish. Bang. While a fierce fight broke out between the two sides, Piccolo had already stopped Slidger, who was about to take advantage of the chaos to escape. Instead of fighting to the same place, his strength exceeded Slidger. If Slidger hadn't sneak attacked him and forcibly fused him, he wouldn't have been able to fuse him. There is no way he can be his opponent. At this time, Vegeta was staring in the direction of Goku and Dapura with his fists clenched and a hint of unwillingness in his eyes. Super Saiyan 2, Kakarot, just wait, I will transform successfully one day. Boom. After hitting a Kigen wave, both sides retreated. Goku had a stern expression. He had basically tested Dapura's strength and could win. However, some of Dapura's methods were still quite dangerous, so some preparations were needed to defeat him. Its stay. Dapura, on the other hand, was delighted to see him and looked at Goku with fighting intent in his eyes. As the king of the demon world, he had not met an opponent worth fighting for a long time, so when he met Gohan later, he showed full arrogance and disdain. It's not that he can't recognize the difference in strength like Vegeta, but he really didn't expect so many Super Saiyans to appear on this small Earth. Hell level copies are no joke. Dapura, just when the two sides were about to give it a go, a voice suddenly sounded out of thin air. Even Goku and others heard it. The voice said angrily, don't waste time, don't worry about that guy Slug. Don't forget what task I gave you, you idiot. Yes. He frowned. Although Dapura was angry, the dark control prevented him from disobeying Babita's order. He glanced at Goku, dissipated the energy sword in his hand, and then raised his hand to condense a Kigen wave. Goku didn't understand why and looked wary. But what Dapura did next made him angry. Dapura suddenly changed direction, and a Kigen wave hit the corner of Shura Star, destroying the area. Then, a terrifying aura mixed with bright green light and lightning erupted. Roar. Boom. The terrifying energy swept across in an instant and radiated to the entire universe space of the demon world. The space seemed to lose its color in an instant and turned into gray and white. The smile on Dapiera's face remained, but there was a slight sweat on her forehead. Babbitta's excited voice came. Great. It's really great. This potential and energy will definitely resurrect the devil puppet faster. Dabra, I order you to go to me now. Bring me the owner of that energy and go quickly. But, Master Babbity, don't you understand what I'm saying? Go quickly, Babbity's furious voice was in sharp contrast to Dapiera's humiliation, but Dapiera had no strength, but could only be obedient. He bravely flew towards the direction of Broly. Goku frowned slightly, but did not stop him. Although Broly was sealed, and he exerted dark control, he had no intention of completely destroying Broly. He provides Broly with what he needs to survive. Relying on the terrifying physique of the legendary Super Saiyan, Broly's strength has been increasing day by day in the past 2 years. Whoosh, appearing in front of Slag, a Kigen wave directly destroyed him, and then appeared in front of Mirror and Mora. Sir. Mirror hurriedly bowed, but Mora was stunned for a moment before she could react. Goku glanced at the latter and said directly, remove Broly's limiter. This is Mora was a little hesitant, feeling uneasy and rebellious for the first time, but she didn't dare to go against Goku's words, so she could only do it. As the limiter was lifted, Broly, who had been suppressed by Dapiera, exploded, and his bright green flames shot straight into the sky, seemingly endless even from a distance of 1,000 meters. The terrifying arrogance that covered the sky and the sun was clearly visible, like an angry giant beast in the starry sky, which was daunting. Piccolo swallowed secretly. He thought Goku had killed Broly, but he didn't expect him to be here. No matter how many times I see this monster, I can't help but be shocked. Killing starts from you. Maintaining such a terrifying explosive state, the energy in Broly's body still has no end in sight. His eyes have become blank, and he stares at Dapiera in front of him, and declares his death. Bite. Dapiera's energy soared and attacks hit Broly, as if they were hitting steel, leaving not even a trace behind, and unable to even make Broly retreat even half an inch. Broly, who was originally the god of death, was finally liberated, and took action directly. Bang. With one punch, just one punch, Dapiera lost the power to resist, and then was grabbed by Broly. Dapiera was already 2.4 meters tall, unusually tall. But when entering the super pass state, Broly, who is 2.8 meters tall, is still like a toy. He grabbed Dapiera, raised his knee, and smashed it down hard. Click. Dapiera's painful wail echoed through the void. His whole body was bent into an exaggerated arc, and he passed out from serious injuries with 2 moves. Dapiera, the king of the demon world, was defeated and on the verge of death. This is the legendary Super Saiyan, synonymous with brutality and extreme violence aesthetics. He threw Dapiera away, as if he was throwing away garbage. Broly looked at Goku. Not far away, Vegeta's scalp tightened, and he subconsciously stepped back. He really didn't have the courage to face this person in front of him, a monster that leaves a huge shadow. Piccolo was not much better, and was sweating profusely. Whoosh. The next moment, the exaggerated Broly came to Goku at a speed that was almost invisible to the naked eye, with a ferocious expression on his face. A deep voice that seemed to be squeezed out of the throat and lungs said, Kakarot, Kakarot, Broly. Goku's expression was also a little solemn, but the corners of his mouth were still slightly raised, and he raised his hand. Bang. Click, click, click. Broly smashed one of his hands over, but was blocked by Goku. The golden flames mixed with lightning surged, and the terrifying energy instantly caused the Shura Star under his feet to begin to crumble. A series of green lightnings fell from the sky, and the entire Shura Star became crumbling under this power. This is just the aftermath of one blow. Chapter 137, 15 billion. The Demon World. In the universe space outside Shura Star, a meteorite with a diameter of tens of kilometers is sliding under the influence of Newton's first law, and there is silence in the dead universe until, buzz, boom, a burst of green energy directly shattered the meteorite, and countless fragments flew in all directions, changing their trajectory. Kakarot. Bang, bang bang bang. Goku and Broly fought. Although dark control was exerted, this suppression was only useful for people with evil hearts. It was black magic that used greed and obsession in people's hearts to control them. Unfortunately, this kind of control can only suppress Broly, but cannot control him. Broly is just like a pure violent killing machine. He doesn't have much sense at all, let alone obsession. If he has any, it is probably the intention to kill Goku. Boom. Goku hit Broly with a Kigen wave. Even Dapper would have to weigh this kind of attack, but apart from the dust of the explosion, it left no trace on Broly. Boom 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 boom. Seeing Goku's continuous Kigen waves bombarding him, Broly directly opened the energy shield and rushed over with the attack. Unstoppable. Goku's eyes gradually became colder, his arrogance dissipated, and his hair returned to normal. Punch at Broly. This is his strongest attack, compressing the power of Super Saiyan's explosive energy into this attack, with perfect control, comparable to Gohan's mysterious state, relying solely on explosive energy. To increase combat power will make walking narrower as you walk backwards, so Goku developed this move point. When combat effectiveness reaches a certain limit, quality and control are the keys to improvement. After all, even a Saiyan's physique and potential have limits, and they cannot improve endlessly. Bang. Broly's forward punch collided with Goku's strongest punch. The unstoppable terrifying momentum was blocked, and he was beaten back for the first time. There was a little confusion in his eyes, and he glanced at his own fist. Goku also retreated violently, the corners of his eyes twitching, and his right arm trembled slightly. With this punch, his entire arm was numb. He licked the corner of his mouth and looked at Broly with excitement flashing in his eyes. The legendary Super Saiyan physique is really unreasonable. He knew that Saiyan's talents and physiques had limits, and that their combat power could not be improved endlessly. When they reached a certain limit, they had to make a choice and start practicing realm point. But these restrictions don't apply to Broly. Chuan Cheo's physique is like a bug in the biological mechanism of the entire universe. How strong he can be depends on how long he can live. If he is not killed, even the god of destruction may have a headache in the end. Theoretically, his combat effectiveness can be increased without limit. There is no upper limit, although Goku can still improve now. In fact, without the system, he is infinitely close to that boundary. There are only two paths left for him. Continue to develop a higher intensity transformation, that is, Super Saiyan 3. One path goes to the dark side. Facts have proved that this path is wrong, and he will naturally not take it again. The other is to improve one's realm and find new ways to break through Saiyan's talent and physical limitations, thereby gaining stronger power. Of course, Goku actually has a third way to go. That is the improvement brought to him by the system, which is also not limited by the Saiyan blood talent. Boom. The already overflowing potential in Goku's body was released at this moment. Perhaps the overflow was too serious. At this moment, he didn't even need to be seriously injured and was on the verge of death. A steady stream of power emerged from his body like gurgling water. 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion, 15 billion. The upper limit of Goku's potential is 15, which is the upper limit of the potential of an intermediate fighter. Therefore, when the potential value is overflowed and released, his combat effectiveness can be directly increased by 15 times. Boom. The universe, which is filled with strange lights and mottled colors, seems to have a different color at this moment. Goku's energy has not spread, but almost all the powerful demons in the entire universe are feeling it at this moment. Somewhere in the deepest part of the demon world, a pair of eyes suddenly opened. This power, the scarlet eyes flashed with a cold light as they turned, with a hint of excitement and excitement. ZHI, a flash of electric arc flashed around his body, and then his whole body's breath was suppressed back into his body. Goku was not too excited by the surge of energy. Instead, he tried to enter a new realm with the help of the insights brought by this increase in power. However, this realm is very vague, and for some reason, there is a faint violent aura in his body that keeps pouring from his spine to his brain. The intertwined feeling of coolness and heat made Goku very uncomfortable. Not to mention calming down, he even had the illusion that he was about to transform into a giant ape at any time. Reason is teetering on the edge of rage. Kakarot, bang, at. This time, Broly rushed over again, and Goku gathered all his strength and punched out. ZHI. Boom. The violent power exploded in the void, and behind Goku was like a giant ape roaring in the void. This blow was also out of instinct. With just one punch, Broly was injured and fell into the deep space. Snort. Goku looked at Broly, who was falling into the deep space with a cold luck point at this moment. Broly was briefly stunned by his blow, and some rats emerged. Whoosh. The next moment, Goku flashed in front of Broly and grabbed Dapura, who was about to take Broly away in the chaos. Cold sweat suddenly flowed down, and Dapura swallowed secretly. The moment he collided with Goku's cold, knife-like eyes, the king of the demon world felt the breath of death. Dapura, what are you doing? Bring that Saiyan back to me quickly, do you hear me? Trash, babbies. Curses and orders kept coming to Dapura's mind, and the dark manipulation began to affect his will point. But under the threat of death, even dark control cannot be so strong. Under the influence of death and black magic, Dapura lost control and fell into chaos, holding his head and roaring. Buzz. Goku's face was expressionless, and he raised his hand to condense a burst of energy, about to send the king of the demon world away. At this moment, his state is very strange. Although he has not turned into a Super Saiyan, he feels stronger than a Super Saiyan, but the restless energy seemed to be becoming more and more active, making him unable to control his power well, and feeling extremely uncomfortable. He needs to solve the trouble here as soon as possible and return to Earth to find a way to solve this problem. Boom. The moment the energy hit, Goku raised his eyebrows. Although he only caught a little bit, he knew by feeling that Dapura had escaped just before his attack arrived. Not bothering to chase Dapura, Goku seriously injured Broly and sent him back to Shura planet before preparing to return to Earth. Congratulations, my lord. Mirror and Mora followed Goku. The Shura star under their feet was already riddled with holes. It looked like it could no longer be used. Goku asked casually what Mira's plans were in the future, but the answer he got was, attribute, we have found several suitable planets, and a nearby Yan demon star can be used as a temporary transit, sir. Mira was a little excited. She had some ambitions. Goku always knew this. If Goku wanted to develop his power in the demon world, this woman would have already expanded his sphere of influence. Even now that even Dapura has been defeated by Goku, she has ideas about the territory of the king of the demon world. Raising his hand to stop Mira's fantasy, Goku still had no intention of developing in the demon world. Before leaving, Goku took a deep look at Mora. I thought it was Babidi who took action, but now it seems that this woman rescued Dapura, thinking she could hide it from herself. Chapter 138, The New God End. Ding. Defeat the legendary Super Saiyan Broly and get potential +5. As expected of the legendary Super Saiyan, you can get such a huge potential value after defeating him for the second time. Even if you defeat Lightning Cell, the reward you will get is probably less than half of Broly. The reward for defeating Broly for the first time is still fresh in Goku's memory, and it is even higher than the reward given by Super 2 Gohan. Although it is a pity that the golden potential value has not been revealed again, it is still quite impressive. Host, Son Goku Bloodline, Saiyan, Intermediate Warrior, age 27. Key. Combat Power 15 billion, 9/15, potential value, gold. 10 skills, Super Turtle Style Kicking, Kaioken, Vitality Bomb, Dancing Sky Technique, 10,000 Kingdoms Shocking Palm, Darkness Control, Medama Star Combination Technique, Superpowers, Gravity Control, 20 times Gravity, Soul Exchange, Telekinesis, Universe Survival, Devil's Blessing, Water Breathing, Earth, Temple of Heaven. Above the entire heavenly temple, a layer of terrifying energy visible to the naked eye covered the surface of all objects in a ripple shape, spreading outward layer by layer. Bobo and Piccolo stood in front of the Temple of Heaven, looking at the figures in the square. Goku closed his eyes and meditated at this moment, trying his best to seize the opportunity and enter a new realm. But this process is very difficult. The illusory realm is like trying to catch the moon in the water. No matter how hard Goku tries, it's all in vain. This feeling is very frustrating. However, the water surface could not quiet at this moment. He could not even see the reflection of the bright moon clearly, let alone fish it up. But after the energy dissipated, Goku turned to look at the tail behind him and grabbed it. A trace of confusion flashed in his eyes. He could clearly feel that the restless energy came from this tail. This was the most primitive and essential source of power for Saiyans, and it was full of violent energy. Before that, this power could help him better unleash his potential. But now he wanted to sense that realm, and this energy became the biggest obstacle. So at this moment, he was faced with a choice: cut off his tail, speed up his perception of that realm, and maybe enter the mysterious realm, or even the Super Saiyan God. Don't worry. Continue practicing in this state, or try another path. To be honest, Goku is not sure whether he can control that violent power if he becomes a giant ape, and whether he can evolve again. This is a dilemma. He had already guessed the reason why it was like this. His combat power has increased too high, far beyond the boundary that a Saiyan's talent can reach, so this power was stimulated. Cool. Looking at the words intermediate warrior on the panel, Goku finally did not rush for success, but put the matter aside for the time being. If I remember correctly, Vegeta seemed to be able to control his sanity after the Great Ape. Maybe he can do it too. He just needs to wait for the next improvement of his talent. Old son, do you really not consider becoming a god? Piccolo and Bobo walked over and looked at him with complicated expressions. Goku shook his head and smiled. Wouldn't it be better if you continue to be a god? All previous gods can't find any faults. It's not as simple as you think. I can no longer be a god. Piccolo shook his head. Goku curled his lips and said, can't I be a god? The previous generations of gods dared to bully the old gods because they were good, and they were all self-righteous old guys. Piccolo really wants the gods, so what if the gods of the past who have some means don't agree? However, Piccolo is indeed not suitable now. He has refused the old gods and Naru. Although he is still considered the god race of Namek, he is not so pure. Even the ability to make Dragon Balls is gone. We have to find another god to come back to Earth, and it seems we have to go to Namek. If Piccolo hadn't mentioned it, I would have forgotten about it. Dent, whoosh. Goku did what he thought of and went directly to Namek. After explaining the situation, the new Grand Elder of Namek happily found Dent and wanted to make him the god of the Earth. Namek people are inherently kind, and going to Earth to serve as gods is not a bad thing. On the contrary, it is an opportunity for the Namek clan, which is not large in number. There is no need for two sets of Dragon Balls to exist on the same planet. The ability of the Namekians to create Dragon Balls comes from the Super Dragon, a right granted by the Dragon God Salama. This miraculous power essentially comes from the Dragon God. The only way to spread the miraculous power is 7 Dragon Balls. Therefore, it became a matter of course for Dent to go to Earth. At the Temple of Heaven, Piccolo was very happy to see Dent. He had fused with Naru, had Neru's memory, and was equivalent to having a part of Neru's personality. What's more, it's a clan member I haven't seen for a long time. The ceremony for Dent to become a god is quite simple. He just takes over the scepter from the old god and then resurrects the dragon. There is no test point. Even if there are some subsequent ceremonies, there will be no problems with Piccolo around. Mr. Son Goku, isn't Son Gohan here? Dent said timidly. Goku smiled. He should be doing his homework now. I'll bring him over to play with you when I get back. Just wait. Well, sorry to trouble you. Dent was very happy. A large part of the reason why he agreed to come here was probably because he came to see Gohan. Children's friendship is simple and pure. Green mountains and clear waters. Quiet environment. Apart from being far away from the city and inconvenient for shopping, there is nothing wrong with Baozishan. Whoosh. A bird looked at the sudden appearance of Goku and was frightened away. Goku teleported back to Baozi Mountain, but as soon as he came back, he started scratching his head. With your brains, why don't you just bring Dent here? Forget it, it's almost the same. Let's go find Gohan first. As a result, as soon as he got home, Goku was a little dumbfounded. He saw Shishi folding his hands and sitting on the chair without saying a word. Gohan poked his head out of the room and then quickly retracted it. Bulma's key is in the research institute at the foot of the mountain. Xiaomi should be near the research institute. This key, Qiu Long, should be there. Back. Shishi looked up at Goku. Goku's eyelids jumped. This is not a good sign. It seems that Shishi is still angry. Also, it seems that he has not explained clearly about taking Gohan and Xiaomi to the underworld. Although they are back, Shishi is very principled. Strong woman, bad food. Fortunately, Goku has experience in dealing with this situation, but only with Bulma's cooperation. He walked past Shishi as if nothing had happened and walked to the door of Gohan's room. Gohan, Dend has come to Earth to play with you. I'll take you to the Celestial Temple to play for a while. Take your homework with you. Piccolo is also there. Really? Dend came to Earth? Gohan stood up excitedly. Well, let's go. Remember to come back before dinner, you know, Dend. It just so happens that Xiaomi is also very bored and refuses to sleep. Gohan, please take her to the Celestial Temple with you. Bulma also came over at this time and handed Xiaomi to Gohan to take care of. As a hybrid legendary Super Saiyan, Xiaomi is too energetic and Bulma can't bear it. Otherwise, Goku and Gohan wouldn't always be carrying him around. Well, Xiaomi, let's go find Dend. Dend is my brother's good friend, and he is from Namek, Rice. Xiaomi was of course very happy to hear that she could go out and play. Chapter 139 Cooler. After sending Gohan and Xiaomi to the Saiyan Temple, Goku returned to Baozi Mountain Point looking at Shishi, who was still silent, but whose face had turned a little ugly. Goku knew that this was really troublesome, but he also knew very well that just persuading or explaining would be useless. The only way to deal with Shishi is. Goku kept giving Bulma winks, gesturing for her to come out first, and a hint of cunning flashed in Bulma's eyes. Walking to the corner, Goku asked her to help calm Shishi's emotions. At this moment, Shishi was like a volcano, and it might explode if not careful. Unexpectedly, Bulma said with a teasing face at this time, Shishis, people are not important at all. If you don't even prepare a birthday gift, I'll just go home. Bulma turned his head as he spoke, but glanced towards Goku, secretly observing his reaction. With a twitch in his mouth, Goku knew that Bulma would not be angry about this kind of thing. She and Shishi were two different types. Shishi cared more about her family, while Bulma cared more about herself. This is not to say that Bulma is selfish, but that the two express their feelings to their families in different ways. Bulma inherited the intelligence of the Brai family, and the family tradition is naturally the same, focusing on avant-garde thinking. Children, just live, and your life must be refined and beautiful. Just like her desire to start looking for the Dragon Balls. It is full of romantic fairy tales. Unfortunately, Goku didn't quite understand what romance was. He scratched his head and said, the Dragon Balls have been restored. Let me go find them with you. Snort. Bulma didn't buy it, but there was still some movement in his eyes. Goku hesitated for a moment. How about I go shopping with you? 3 times? Good. Goku's face fell. This was more uncomfortable than killing him, but there was no way. It was even more uncomfortable if he couldn't escape this disaster than to return to the house together. Bulma was very smart. After getting along for so long, he accurately identified Shishi's weaknesses, invited Shishi to go shopping, and then took advantage of the situation to have a comprehensive physical examination. The focus is not on physical examination, but on checking the development of the fetus. Sure enough, it hit Shishi's weak point. The previous things were immediately forgotten, and he blushed and left with Bulma. Goku sadly followed the two. Time passes day by day, calm and fulfilling. 1 year after Cheryl was defeated, people had long forgotten the fear brought by Cheryl, and everything returned to calm and peace. The original forest on Baozi Mountain gradually changed. Large tracts of mountain forest were knocked down and cleared, and patches of farmland were reclaimed. However, it was not completely reclaimed, only part of it. On this day, Goku was enjoying a rare afternoon leisure on the grass beside the melon field, with a straw hat covering his face. Suddenly, the straw hat was blown away by the wind, and Goku also opened his eyes. There seemed to be a faint luster in his eyes, and his tail behind him swung. Oops, Goku, something bad is going to happen. Kao-sama? Goku hesitated for a moment, then jumped up and said with a smile, what's the matter? King K usually wouldn't bother him when he had nothing to do. He had lived for who knows how long, and King K was just a festival. He would either lie down, or count the number of grasses on his own KL planet all day long. Frieza, do you remember? Huh? Isn't Frieza in hell? Goku couldn't help but frown slightly when he heard this. If he remembered correctly, Frieza's resurrection would be a big trouble point having never fought against him. He couldn't say that he was 100% sure that he could fight against Golden Frieza. That's right. What I'm talking about is actually Frieza's brother, Cooler. That guy's even more ambitious. King K looked sad at this time and conveyed his thoughts to Goku. Oh, we finally solved Frieza. It should have been peaceful, but this guy Cooler didn't dare to provoke you, so he simply swallowed up Frieza's territory. It has become a new universe place, even worse than that guy Frieza. Where is he? Goku asked directly, his eyes very calm and unruffled. It's just Cooler, a character he can kill easily now. Since King K has said it, there's no harm in him taking action to deal with it. King K did not tell him the information immediately, but continued with some worry. Goku, please listen to me first. This matter is not only about my northern galaxy, but the entire southeast, northwest, and the entire universe. It's been affected. King K's tone became more solemn, and he spoke eloquently. That guy Cooler and the mechanical life fusion from Big Star secretly hid in the territory of that guy from the West KO, and devoured many life planets, and now their bodies have become very scary. And there are 4 planets located across the universe, so they must be eliminated at the same time. 4 planets? Goku was a little surprised. He didn't expect Cooler to have such an opportunity point. However, with Big Aox's fusion, it's hard to say whether it's an opportunity or a danger. He can't say whether Cooler is the current one or not. Big O Star is a high-tech planet-level digital life known as the Universe Graveyard. It is very difficult to deal with, especially after the fusion Cooler. It is difficult to destroy it. You must first defeat Cooler, who is already considered immortal on the high star. Worse, King K said so much in one breath. Took a breath, and then continued to raise his voice a little more and said, what's even worse is that the Decay Wang has ordered Spare Bryce and many martial arts masters from the underworld to deal with the Cooler in the West Galaxy point. But the pork rib Bryce has been defeated. Goku, you are the hope of the whole universe now. Goku, subconsciously covering his ears, Goku's eyelids twitched. It seemed that King K was under quite a lot of pressure. Also, if Cooler continues to develop like this, I'm afraid the entire universe will really suffer. However, compared to Cooler swallowing up the universe completely, I'm afraid that the Grand KO and several other KOs are more afraid of alarming Beerus. It is not impossible to directly wipe out a certain universe if they disagree with each other. That's when the real trouble starts. This is the reason why King K asked King K to come to Goku. Last time I picked all the golden apples of King Yama. Although they are no longer useful to Goku and Gohan, they are still good as supplements for Shishi and Bulma. The skin is moisturized and shiny, not only looks younger, but also the strength has improved a lot. The problem was a bit big, and Goku was not in a hurry to take action directly. Instead, he took Gohan to find Piccolo. He originally wanted to find Vegeta to rescue him, but this guy didn't know where he was going in the universe spaceship. And he couldn't find him at all. If it comes to people, forget it. Gohan, you and Piccolo each go find a high star, and I'll go to the other one. Goku, what if there is one more? Piccolo has understood the situation at this time, and realized that this crisis is very special. 4 Big AO stars must be solved at once. Otherwise, even if the others are destroyed, the remaining Big AO stars will be copied again in a short time. This is the horror of mechanical life. As long as it evolves to a certain point, it will be like eternal life. Goku thought for a moment, and said his plan. Actually, I plan to let you find it without taking any action. Then wait for me, and I will teleport the Big O star directly to solve it together. This was his plan. Gohan and Piccolo just provided him with the coordinates to teleport. The most difficult part is not how to deal with Cooler, but that Goku has to teleport with a mechanical life equivalent to the size of an entire planet, and directly across the entire universe. A year ago, Goku wouldn't have been able to do this. Now, you can try it. Chapter 140 Vegeta's Change. The capital of the West, the Bulma family as calm and peaceful as ever. After Goku made a detailed plan to destroy Big O Star, He also felt that the three of them were not safe, and they were unable to find Vegeta, so they had to come here and prepare to find a foreign aid. Goku teleported directly to Bulma, only to find that Bulma was immersed in studying something. Whoosh. Bulma sighed, put down what he was studying, turned around and rolled his eyes at him. Can't you knock on the door and come in? Really? Definitely next time. That's what you said last time. Bulma glanced at him angrily, then stood up, stretched his perfect body arc, picked up the water glass on the table and asked, "Tell me, what do you want from me? I would be very happy if you said you missed me." No. Goku is a little helpless. Bulma is the romantic type, so as long as he doesn't resist, Bulma can play in different ways. Feeling helpless, Goku told her about Big O Star's plan, and then expressed his intention. Violet should always be in contact with you, right? Bulma also realized that the problem was serious, and called Violet over through a separate communication channel. About a few minutes later, Violet had appeared at the scene. He was dressed in a cool outfit, wearing a shirt outside his swimsuit, sunglasses and a straw hat. It looked like he had been called over on vacation. After arriving at the scene, she glanced at Goku, and Violet glanced at Bulma again. The important thing you said is not that you want me to accompany your husband on a date, right? Bulma smiled and took out the limiter button. Violet raised her hands in a gesture of surrender. Okay, what do you want me to do? Fight the aliens? You guessed it right, huh? Violet didn't expect that her casual words would actually hit the mark, so she reached out to Goku decisively. Give me some energy as a reward. Your energy seems to have become stronger again. Goku casually released a bolt of lightning, and after Violet absorbed it, his energy increased a bit, probably soaring to a level comparable to 50 billion in combat power. It's not that Goku doesn't have enough energy. If he explodes, his energy can increase 100 times, but the energy that Violet can bear seems to be approaching its limit. She used the modified chip that Dr. Gallo had studied earlier. Although there were many advanced aspects, the upper limit was definitely not comparable to the ultimate artificial human like Cell. After all, I'm still a human being from Earth. At this time, Bulma turned around and picked up a phone-like object from the previous experimental table and walked to Goku. Goku, you have to ask the KL for me about this matter. It is very important, huh? Seeing Bulma's serious expression, Goku also frowned. Bulma thought it was something very important, and even asked him to ask the KL for help. He didn't even think about what it was. My sister Tace lost contact in the universe. About half a month ago, I was very worried about her. I went to find Vegeta, but that guy disappeared too. I only found the communication she left. It seems it's related to Big O Star. Tace disappeared, and even Vegeta disappeared. Goku frowned and suddenly had some guesses, but he couldn't be sure yet. Eastern Galaxy, New Namek. The surface of the planet is like a huge soft-bodied creature attached to it, swallowing the planet itself bit by bit. The Namekians living here have been enslaved and put on shackles. The robot walked on the ground, guarding the Namekians along the way, and heading towards the huge mechanical building. At this moment, a Namekian fell to the ground because he was too frightened. The surrounding robots suddenly went into action and raised their weapons and pointed them in that direction. Several tall combat type Namekians suddenly became furious and were about to take action. Great Elder, we can't wait any longer. Great Elder. All the Namekians are a little restless. If this continues, the result will obviously be catastrophic for the Namekians. Boom. Discover. High energy reaction. Attack. All. Attack. Boom. Boom boom boom. One after another, the Big O Star robots were bombarded and killed at extremely fast speeds. A white cloak flashed past, and all the robots had been killed. But then, more robots gradually swarmed out of the huge mechanical building. Piccolo. Watch out. Seeing Piccolo coming to the rescue, all the Namekians were very excited. Piccolo nodded, and then looked solemnly at the approaching mechanical army. His eyes were very solemn. His mission was to delay, at least until Goku brought the other high stars over. Before that, he also needs to ensure that he has enough energy to provide Goku with accurate coordinates. But it happened that the place where this high star landed was Namek. In this way, he had to avoid causing too much damage to his new hometown, and the difficulty skyrocketed. Great. Elder, are the Dragon Balls still there? Here, still there. Then, please summon Palunga, and then ask all the tribesmen to leave here temporarily, and go to another planet to take refuge. We will solve this problem. Good. Piccolo liberated all the Nameks, and began to fight against the mechanical army alone to buy time. At the same time, Gohan had also arrived at another pure high star, and began to fight against the mechanical army. But maybe because he discovered Gohan's strength, Big Star directly sent out the mechanical cooler, a group of undead monsters with a combat power of over 10 billion. Even though Gohan can easily crush any mechanical cooler on the Big Star, Cooler is immortal. Therefore, his task is still to delay, and the battle situation is extremely fierce. Boom. Boom. The surface of Big O Star is constantly blooming with firelight, as if it may be destroyed at any time. At the other end of the universe, there is a planet that has been completely enveloped by the star Big O. Boom. A violent energy shot straight into the sky, instantly destroying all the machinery. TSK. Click, click. Countless broken mechanical parts fell to the ground, sparks flying, and then a figure covered in blood staggered out of the ruins. Whoosh! A universe spaceship rushed out of the huge hole and stopped in the universe. The surrounding area suddenly flashed with red light, and dense groups of mechanical coolers emerged from all directions, locking their energy into the universe spaceship rushing towards the universe. Boom. The staggering figure raised his blood-stained hand and blasted all the mechanical coolers into pieces with a burst of energy. Vegeta, get on the spaceship quickly. Stop talking, Vegeta staggered on his feet, and his physical strength was close to the limit. He held onto the hole that was blasted out, turned around and stood in front of Big Star, and said in a deep voice, "You woman, the farther away you are, the better. Vegeta, he's the prince of the Saiyans, and he wants me to run away with this kind of lust. ZHI. Sneer." Along with the electric sparks, the surrounding mechanical parts suddenly started to move on their own, like liquid metal, attacking Vegeta from all directions. Although Vegeta sounded nice at this time, in fact, he had been fighting for a long time. In addition, he rushed directly into the high star to save Tacy and Trunks, and covered the two people to rush out, which had reached the limit. Vegeta, seeing Vegeta being swallowed by the Big Star, Tacy was extremely anxious and felt deeply desperate and powerless. Chapter 141. The crisis on Big O Star is resolved. Time goes back to half a month ago. Vegeta was practicing alone. Tacy couldn't stand Vegeta's unique behavior, so she simply walked away with Trunks. A few days later, Vegeta walked out of the gravity chamber exhausted and returned home to get some food from the refrigerator to replenish his meal, but he saw the communicator lighting up. Normally, he would not go to see it, and few people would contact Tacy. But at this moment, he felt an inexplicable palpitation in his heart, so he walked over and connected the communication. By accident, Vegeta was attacked by Takahashi. Zizzy. The communication information was intermittent. Obviously the transmission signal was affected by the high star snap. The communicator fell to the ground, and then Vegeta boarded the universe spacecraft and approached Tacy's last interstellar coordinates. After arriving at Big O Star, Vegeta rushed in. After a year of training and precipitation, his strength has made great progress, and he is only half a step away from full power. It seems that the progress is not big, but it is a world of difference compared to Gohan. But you must know that Vegeta has only been practicing for 2 years in the true sense, even including the spiritual time room. Before that, all his strength was achieved by crazily squeezing his own potential in a way that was close to self-mutilation. Even so, he was able to directly increase his strength by more than 100 times in just 2 years by further releasing his potential and practicing cultivation. This is Vegeta's talent. If done correctly, his potential may not be lower than Gohan's. Vegeta, Tace. It's no longer possible. Leave quickly. A panicked voice urged. Amidst Tace's desperate cry, a burst of energy suddenly blasted into the interior of Big O Star, instantly destroying part of Big O Star. Whoosh! Slowly opening his eyes, Vegeta saw the back standing in front of him in a trance. TSK, and then passed out. When he woke up again, he was already in Tace's universe spaceship, flying towards the Earth. It's so dangerous. Jack controlled the universe spaceship while complaining to Tacy, "Tacy, you were too messy this time. We almost died here." Well, wow. A small figure with white and purple hair jumped up and hit Jack on the head. "Ouch. You brat. How dare you hit the great galactic patrolman Gak. It hurts." "Stop it, Jack." Scurried away with his head in his arms. After rescuing Vegeta, Goku began a plan to transfer Bigota Star. The process went smoothly at first, but when he successfully brought the first and second Bigo Stars to the vicinity of the third one, the three Bigo Stars actually started to fuse. Under the fusion of three high-rise stars, not only was the volume larger, but the energy also soared exponentially. Goku felt that the energy in his body was plummeting, and he was already exhausted. "Dad, hey, you're not going to die, are you?" Violet looked at the swollen Bigo Star in front of her and began to think about quitting. Goku's eyes twitched and he took a deep breath. But a burst of energy passed into his body. Goku looked sideways and found that it was Gohan. At this moment, Gohan had also experienced a hard battle and did not have much physical strength left. Patting Gohan's shoulder, Goku comforted him. "That's it. Leave the rest to me. You go further." With that said, he took out a fairy bean and ate it, and his physical strength instantly returned to its peak. Whoosh. Then he disappeared directly on the spot. Gohan was stunned, but Violet reacted instantly and pointed it out directly. "So that's it. It's the same to transfer another big star, but he has to be faster, otherwise the four big stars will in terms of fusion." He looked up at the super mechanical planet that had turned into a giant, far larger than an ordinary planet. "It will be very troublesome." Not only is it a trouble, the huge energy of the fusion of the three high stars has even made Goku feel the pressure. If they are completely fused, it may be a real disaster. The last high star is the one attached to Namek. Piccolo is still fighting hard. Almost an hour has passed since Goku transferred the other high stars. Logically speaking, it would be difficult for Piccolo to persist for such a long time. But now Piccolo has a helper wearing a Galaxy Patrol uniform. A young man with short white hair used a laser gun to help. He looked lifeless, but even Cooler's mechanical body couldn't get close to him. The amazing performance shocked Goku. But now is not the time to be shocked. Goku went directly to the big star, helped destroy the mechanical incarnation of Cooler, and then explained his plan. No, unexpectedly, the Galactic Patrolman stopped him in a hurry and reminded loudly, "Once the four Hidaka stars are fused, they cannot be destroyed. Even if you become Super Saiyan 2. The ultimate form of Hidaka star will absorb and assimilate everything in an instant. Energy and life. You must find a warrior who can destroy the Bigo Star and destroy the other three Bigo Stars with you." Piccolo was panting at this time, half kneeling on the ground. After eating the fairy beans, he stood up, looked at Goku solemnly and said, "Goku, he is right. Let Gohan come over. He and I will try together. I'll leave the other side to you." "Okay." Goku knew that he seemed to have inadvertently brought this matter to a point where it would be difficult to end it. The matter had reached this point, and one more wrong step might be a real disaster. Taking a deep breath, Goku calmed himself down. His strength suddenly increased too much. Although he didn't show it, Goku realized at this moment that he seemed to be a little too confident in his own strength. It's not that he doesn't have a safer solution to this matter, but he chose this approach of relying almost entirely on his own strength. Realizing this, Goku felt a little alarmed. To make sure nothing went wrong, he also brought over Vegeta, who had already taken the fairy beans, combining the power of Gohan, Violet, Vegeta and Piccolo. It should be enough to destroy a high star. Sizzling. In the boundless void, Goku's whole body was flashing with electric light, and his thoughts began to communicate with King K. K-sama, please excuse me. No problem, Goku. Just go ahead and do it. As for the pork rib rice, Lord Ko has promised to help him reshape his body. Immediately, King K contacted several other KS, and at the same time, counted down to Piccolo and Goku on the other side on the Great KO. 3, 2. Even several realm kings were trembling slightly at this moment. They could stand at the level of the universe and clearly feel the energy that made them despair. 1. Boom. A pale light illuminated the deep sky. After Goku exerted all his strength to strike, he felt that his whole body was exhausted. He could not even release teleportation again, so he could only take out the last fairy bean from his body and eat it. After recovering, Goku waited for a moment for King K to confirm that Big O Star had been completely destroyed before leaving. Ding. Destroy Big O Star and gain potential value +3. After Goku left, a universe spacecraft came slowly and gradually approached the wreckage of the high star, as if there was some kind of strange gravity, gradually attracting the wreckage. Inside the universe spaceship, a figure looked at the mechanical fragments in his hand, and the corners of his mouth curled up. Interesting. Technology. Chapter 142 The Theory of Realm. Earth, Bulma's house point. In order to celebrate the end of the crisis, Bulma called everyone together and held a celebration banquet as usual. Tace's family was also invited, and the atmosphere was very cheerful. Really, Goku, are you too boring? You didn't inform us of such an important thing. Damn it. But, Master Yamcha, didn't you say you don't want to be a martial artist? Cool. Don't tell me. Hahaha. The atmosphere at the scene was a bit joyful, but even Yamcha has chosen to completely withdraw from the ranks of martial arts, which can be regarded as indicating that the decline of martial arts has not changed. This is not good news a few years later. Even if the descendants of Goku and Vegeta are still on the earth, the excessively comfortable life and the lack of inheritance will one day make the earth weak when facing a crisis. But when that time comes, Goku has nothing to do. Maybe he is no longer here, and he doesn't want to think about it so much. Vegeta left in the middle of the banquet, and Tacey left the scene after complaining. However, Trunks was temporarily kept here for a few days by the Breves, who happened to be playing with Goten. After the banquet, Goku asked Ko about the location of the Galaxy Patrol headquarters. The next day, Goku appeared at the Galaxy Patrol headquarters. Who? Saiyan. It's the Saiyan who broke into the headquarters. Go and ask for support. Run. The brutal Saiyans are coming. This is also the first time that Goku has encountered someone who is so scared when they see him. None of the Red Ribbon Legion back then were so timid. Goku was speechless for a moment, and then he saw a familiar figure in the crowd walking over. Where are the Saiyans? The elite member of the Galaxy Patrol, Gak, is here. Jack was just about to perform a performance when he saw Goku standing in front of him with his hands folded. He was so frightened that he put away his gun. He walked up to Goku in 2 steps and stood straight in front of him, bowing at a 90-degree angle. Private Marcel, okay, don't be nervous, everyone. This is not an evil Saiyan. He is Mr. Son Goku, who just helped solve the crisis on the big star. Mels was quite reliable. He cleared up the misunderstanding with just 1 sentence. Then he walked up to Goku and nodded. Then he turned around and raised his hand. Please follow me. Is it okay for you to come to the Galaxy Patrol? The Galaxy King should be very happy. Welcome. No, I'm here to find you. Mels paused for a moment, then looked into Goku's eyes, seeming to see something, and nodded. I understand. Whatever you want to know, I will tell you everything I know. I want to know what is the self-extreme intention Kung Fu or the realm. You have indeed reached this point. Okay, I will tell you. Goku and Mels chatted for a long time and also discussed each other. Goku's 15 billion normal combat power has far exceeded the limit of ordinary Saiyans, which amazed Mels, but the reality is cruel. Mels fought to a tie with Goku under the premise that he only exerted a strength equivalent to about 1 million combat power. It can't be called a tie, but Goku can't win. At most 1 of 10 attacks can hit Mels' body, and he takes the initiative without Mels being aware of the threat. Mels did not use Angel's power, but was invincible, based on his realm alone, which shocked Goku, and for the first time he truly felt the difference in realm. In the words of Myers, the realm is to exert a point of strength to achieve 100 or 1000 times the effect. Mr. Son Goku, you are right to expand your realm, but I suggest you make some choices. Myers glanced at Goku's tail with a hint of intent, then changed the subject and continued. Of course. This is just my personal suggestion. Pure power is not a bad thing. On the contrary, if you have a way to continue to improve your power, your understanding of the realm will also be helpful. However, the efficiency of pure power will be greatly reduced the further you stack it. I understand. Thank you. After Communicating with Myers, he already had a concept in his mind. To put it simply, if pure ki continues to increase, it will still be a stack of combat power. The stack of billions, billions, tens of billions, and hundreds of billions is just a tenfold increase. This is already extremely difficult. Different bloodlines and races will also be limited by their own talents. Not only will their improvement become slower and slower, there are also racial bottleneck restrictions, which are the upper limits, but the realm is different. Every time you improve, the improvement may be 100 times the qualitative difference, and it is not limited by the blood of the race. This gap will get bigger and bigger as the level increases, until it may be infinite. Just like the god of destruction, he can indiscriminately erase everything in the entire universe. It has nothing to do with strength. It is because within the limits allowed by the rules of the universe, it is impossible to create life and energy units that transcend the universe itself. Likewise, Zeno's clearance is the power of rules. The so-called realm is the road that keeps getting closer to the rules. What Mel's meant was to suggest that he give up his tail, that is, reduce his energy in exploring the Saiyan's limited potential, and devote himself entirely to improving his realm, which would be more efficient. But Myers couldn't understand how Goku could reach his current strength. According to his impression, it would be impossible for a Saiyan to reach this level of strength anyway, so he gave an ambiguous suggestion. Although the improvement of ki will become less and less efficient in the later stage, it is not completely ineffective. For example, if Goku directly releases his potential value, gold, he can achieve a one-time increase in strength of 1,000 times. Or even higher. Maybe you can't prove the Tao with force and shake the rules, of course, at least until the god of destruction comes. He will not consider doing this. As for the self-extreme intention kung fu, I may not be able to explain it at the moment. Maybe I can recommend you to find Whis. He is better at this than me. Thank you. Goku declined politely. It is not that easy to understand the self-extreme intention kung fu. If you are blessed with your soul, you may be able to learn it in a short time. But if you can't grasp the key, or you really don't have the talent, then never think about it. In the original work, Goku can only be said to be lucky, and because he really fits the skill of this god, he was able to take the first step in a short time. Anyway, he already had an idea, so Goku was in no hurry. As long as his realm slowly improves, his strength will naturally grow faster, and his ultimate goal is to have the ability to resist destruction. Before Beerus appears in the original work, it seems that Goku and others are in a fight with Beerus, but in fact life and death still depend on Beerus's thoughts. The balance is very delicate. It was not until after the Tournament of Power that Goku, who showed his talent for freedom and ultimate intention, was trained by Beerus as a candidate god of destruction, and was removed from the ranks of mortals who could be killed at any time if they were unhappy. Goku was too obtuse to notice this. On the other hand, Vegeta may be too afraid of Beerus, but he is cautious and realizes this fact, so he desperately practices with Whis, and even practices to the level of Super Saiyan God on his own. Later, Vegeta began a counterattack and once surpassed Goku. Today's Goku will not let this happen, let alone hand over his life and death to the mercy and kindness of others. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143. 7 years later. Earth. Time passes little by little. 7 years have passed quickly since the Cell game. The Earth and even the entire universe have returned to peace, and the years have been peaceful. Different from the original timeline, Goku did not spend 7 years in the underworld to develop Super Saiyan 3, nor did he let Shishi take care of Gohan and Goten alone for many years. Position has changed a lot in the past 7 years. A dense forest was bulldozed by Goku, and after being reclaimed, a large area of crops was planted. In addition to staple food and vegetables, there was also a huge melon field. Chirp. The animals on Baozi Mountain are not afraid of the Goku family. Although it is called Baozi Mountain, it is not just a mountain, but includes primitive jungles and rugged mountains with a diameter of hundreds of kilometers. This is not very intuitive. According to the laws of nature, the size of the biosphere can be judged from the organisms at the top of the food chain. There are many dinosaurs living in Baozi Mountain, as well as the Goku family. The ecosystem and food chain can still provide perfect supplies. This shows how good the ecosystem of Baozi Mountain is. Gohan, this is a lunchbox. Come back early for dinner. Got it. Goodbye. Brother, no, Mom, Dad. Gohan was wearing a white lining, a black vest, and a pair of brown trousers. His hair had been trimmed to be neat and refreshing. He had grown a lot taller. Now he was 17 years old and was in high school age. Goku nodded as well. Gohan glanced at Goten, who was following Goku, squatted down slightly and said, Goten, you have to be obedient at home. Whoosh, watching Gohan leave Baozi Mountain on a somersault cloud. Goku was thoughtful. The next thing he knew, it should be Gohan's urban cool article. So what went wrong? To hell with that Super Saiyan. This kid Gohan should be pretty normal these years. Could it be that you have been in the mountains for a long time, so your mentality has not changed when you suddenly go down to live with a group of ordinary people? It's very possible. Goku, why are you so dazed? Seriously, go hunt some prey and come back. Otherwise there won't be enough ingredients for today's dinner. Let's buy some seasonings by the way. Goten will go with you. Okay. Goten nodded immediately. Children are more active. It is worth mentioning that Goten is just like a replica of Goku when he was a child, except for some differences in temperament. Even Goku's eyes in the original work are just innocent, but Goten is a little too clear. This kid lacks some experience. Goku went for a walk in the nearby forest and soon came back carrying a dinosaur. Goten went to make some soy sauce, but didn't come back for a long time. Finally, Goku was arranged by Shishi to go out to find Goten, flying all the way out of the range of Baozi Mountain. Goku could sense Goten's energy and flew over slowly without being in a hurry. When they arrived, they found Goten in a small town. This kid was running around with a small dinosaur, and a group of poachers with guns were chasing him. Gohan also raised a dinosaur, which has now settled in Baozi Mountain. You brat, bring the dinosaur back quickly. Damn it. The residents of the town were all ordinary people, and there was only one peace officer. At this time, he was too frightened by the intensive gunfire to dare to stand up. Goten ran with the little dinosaur and was blocked in a corner before long. Holding the little dinosaur exposed, he did not resist and even closed his eyes. Hey, kid, keep running. Several poachers were approaching step by step, and Goten became even more frightened, but he still stood firmly in front of the little dinosaur. Whoosh, bang, Dad, Goku showed up, knocked out several poachers, took Goten and the little dinosaur home, and sent the little dinosaur back on the waypoint. Along the way, Goku was thinking about Goten. This child is a bit timid by nature and his brain is not very bright, which is a bit troublesome. It's okay if you don't inherit the advantages of Saiyans, but don't grow crooked. At dinner time, Gohan came back from school. The chirping of insects could be heard in the night, adding a bit of vitality. Dang. Gohan, how is the new school? Are you still getting used to it? Well, school is great. Really? That's really good. Come and eat more. Shishi was very happy. In the blink of an eye, his son had grown up. In 2 years, he should find a girlfriend, get married and have children. If Goku knew her thoughts at this time, he would probably be speechless. Your son and wife will be here in 2 days. Why are you so anxious? Gohan no longer has to worry about him. Although his skill has not improved much in the past 7 years, it has not deteriorated either. The key is that he still has the heart for martial arts. Years and months of hard training have formed a habit, and Gohan will not slack off and then become that Nobi fan. However, Gohan is in some trouble, and I don't know if it's because he was too well protected by Shishi since he was a child, but Goku has a headache. Dad, good evening. Look who I brought here. Bulma, Xiaomi, why are you here now? Goku caught the little girl flying towards him. No, it should be a girl. She was dressed in a black martial arts uniform and her face inherited Bulma. He said with a smile, I miss Shishi's mother's food. What? A kid? Sit down quickly. I'll get the bowls and chopsticks. What do you want to eat? Xiaomi, I'll cook it for you now. Shishi was elated. She was very happy when Gohan and Goten were obedient. How could she say such a thing? If Goten didn't inherit many of Goku's advantages, whether it's talent or brains, they are just average. Then Xiaomi is a natural choice. Bulma's mind, Goku's purity and understanding, and talent are also incredible. Apart from not showing the super brains of the Brai family, there is basically no fault. Even Shishi and Bulma always couldn't get along, but for Xiaomi, she was better than her biological daughter. Bulma is as beautiful as ever, but more mature. Her long blue hair has also been cut short. She wears a hip-hugging skirt and a white vest. Her simple makeup shows off the charm of a mature woman. I took Xiaomi to the summer camp, and it turned out she didn't like it, and wanted to come here, so I brought her here. It happened that she was on vacation, so she could spend her summer vacation here. Okay, just stay here for a while. Dang. Thanks. To Millet, dinner is even richer in the next 2 months. In addition to taking care of his farmland, Goku practiced alone, and took Xiaomi and Goten to play in Baozi Mountain. Fishing, touching bird eggs, and catching dinosaurs are all fun. Wow. Xiaomi couldn't catch any fish, so he simply threw himself into the lake and caught one. The behemoth weighing hundreds of kilograms was thrown directly into the lake. Goten, bang, caught. Off guard, Goten was knocked down by the fish, which made Goku shake his head. Ha. Goten, are you too stupid? But it's all your fault that you threw it up suddenly, and I didn't notice it. It's you who are stupid. You are bad. Ugh. The two children stared at each other, but Xiaomi, who was already 9 years old, had grown very fast, and was taller than Goten. In addition, he was more powerful, so he beat Goten directly, and now he became honest. In the end, Goku could only educate Xiaomi, and took the two children home. Time flies, and a month passes quickly. Chapter 144 Bidily arrives. Dang. At dinner time, the family had extra millet, so she had to prepare more meals, but she also enjoyed it, and was not very tired. She has eaten a lot of golden apples brought back by Goku from the underworld over the years. With the help of the Great Elder, his combat power has reached close to 100,000, so the true strongest person on Earth probably has to be her, of course, not counting artificial humans. One more bowl. Xiaomi has a great appetite. Eat more. Come on. Xiaomi has a great appetite, and his appetite is almost as big as Goku's. Gohan was a little absent-minded. Bulma looked thoughtful, and said with a smile, "What's on your mind, Gohan? Is it because you're not used to the new school? Or are you thinking about a certain female classmate?" The dinner table was quiet now, only Goten was still eating. Xiaomi stared at Gohan with bright eyes, and Shishi also put his ear close to him, looking like the fire of gossip was blazing. No. Boomer's mother, it's Gohan. Hesitated for a long time, and couldn't say anything. Bulma was now more sure that he had guessed it right. He looked like he was right and said, "Humph, what are you embarrassed about? You are an adult too. It's not normal to fall in love. ? Tell me, I will help you check. What does the girl look like, and what is her personality like? Gohan, is this true?" Shishi looked at Gohan seriously. This was no small matter. Shishi, don't be anxious. Let Gohan speak first. If appropriate, it's not bad to try to communicate first. After all, Gohan is still young, and will get married. Yes, a female classmate is coming here tomorrow. I met her because Gohan could only tell the story honestly. Goku had known it for a long time. Although he didn't remember the details very clearly, it was still a little strange to hear Gohan's words. This kid really wants to be Superman. Right, just go down the mountain. You have to control people who rob banks. You have to control people who take hostages. Forget it. Why are you still addicted, policeman? Can't you see I'm almost out of a job? It's not that Goku is cold-blooded. It's just that the world is like this. Accidents happen all the time. For super soldiers like them, meddling in such naughty matters is more like swatting mosquitoes with missiles. Even if they do it, it is just a hobby. Well, Billy also seems to like this kind of chivalry, to a certain extent. It sounds like they have similar interests. Otherwise, the gap in strength level is too big, and Goku really can't think of anything. that Gohan and Videl can talk about points, so Goku was kicked out by Shishi the next day. Goku, don't get in the way here. Take Goten and Xiaomi out to play. I have to prepare a sumptuous lunch. But, Shishi, didn't you welcome me before? Goku was speechless. Now he asked me to leave. Shishi glared at him. Yeah, but this is a guest, and it's the first time Gohan's classmate has come. I can't leave a bad impression on others. How did you become a father? Understood, I'm leaving. Goku raised his hands and surrendered, took Goten and Xiaomi and ran away. Not to be offended. The watermelon happens to be ripe, so you can go take a look. At the same time, on the other side, Gohan had to agree to teach her flying, which is the air dance technique, because he was caught by Bidley in the form of being able to fly. On the weekend, I drove a helicopter to Baozi Mountain to find Gohan. This little girl is too big-hearted. There is only one family in Baozi Mountain for hundreds of kilometers, and she doesn't even think about whether this could be an ordinary earthling. How dare you come here alone? Well, I can only say that my IQ is like Satan, but fortunately my appearance has nothing to do with Satan. Tuck tuck tuck. Gohan also specially changed into a martial arts uniform and completed his training while waiting for Videl. Goku didn't even bother to look. Xiaomi wanted to take a peek, but was dragged away by him. What's so interesting about this, really, classmate? Bidley, welcome to my house. Ha, ha ha. Gohan's whole body stiffened. It was the first time he was alone with a girl. He was as stiff as a piece of wood. Goku curled his lips in the distance. This kid is not good, and he doesn't know who to follow. Classmate. Sun Wuhan, does your family really live here? Bidley was a little surprised. She actually thought that Gohan just told her the place where he came to learn Wukong. She didn't expect that his family really lived in Baozi Mountain of the center. If she hadn't seen the buildings and large tracts of reclaimed land in the distance, she wouldn't have been able to believe it. Yeah, by the way, don't you want to learn Wukong Jutsu? Then let's get started. Yes. Bidley was very serious, staring at Gohan, as if she simply thought that she could master the dancing technique as long as she saw the secrets of Gohan clearly. Her idea was correct, but she was a little naive. But compared to Satan back then, at least she had a good attitude. His talent is considered outstanding among earthlings. Then, that classmate Bidley, what's wrong? Son Gohan-san, can you stop staring at me? Noon, Goku held a unique watermelon eating competition in the melon field. Click, click, click. It was a tragedy, and the final result was that Goten couldn't move after eating 7 of them. Xiaomi ate 45 in one sitting. As for Goku, 78. Ha. Ha ha ha. Kick kick kick. Xiaomi was not convinced and continued to eat. After practicing, Vidley still didn't get started, but she had some understanding of ki, so Gohan invited her to visit Baozi Mountain, since it was almost time for dinner anyway. When I came here and saw this scene, my eyes almost popped out. Who are these guys? Gohan's mouth also twitched. He was about to explain, but didn't know how to say it. Ha, ha, ha. Student Vidley, actually this is Gohan. You're finally here. Do you want to come and play? Goku picked up a watermelon and patted it twice. The melon he planted himself must be stuffed with sweet buns. Gohan waved his hand hurriedly. I don't need it. Dad, help me pick a watermelon. This is my classmate, Videl. Goku looked carefully, and so did Xiaomi. Only Goten, the little guy, was smart. Oh, are you my brother's girlfriend? Puff. Puff puff puff. Gohan, who had just taken a piece of watermelon and took a bite, used the seed machine gun on Goten, with little effect. Satoru, Goten, stop talking nonsense. Videl is just my brother's classmate. A classmate. It turns out she's not a girlfriend. Of course not. Patting Goten on the head, Goku felt helpless. Although this kid didn't have any bad intentions, he had many other thoughts. Unfortunately, my brain is not very bright, and I don't know who to follow. If he remembered correctly, Goten seemed to be a talkative boy when he grew up, just like Yamcha. It seemed that he had to discuss it with Shishi and correct this boy. His talent is mediocre to begin with, not as outstanding as Gohan, but the S cells in his body exceed the standard, making it too easy. to transform into a Super Saiyan point, that is to say, the starting point is too high, and it becomes very difficult to lay the foundation point. A tall building rises from the ground. His talent is not outstanding, and he has no solid foundation. Goten's future can be seen at a glance point, but after all, it was his own son, so it would be unreasonable not to save him. So during this period, Goku not only asked Bulma to make a gravity bracelet for Goten, but also strictly ordered him not to use a Super Saiyan transformation without his permission, and to insist on some basic training every day. Now it can be considered that it has begun to show results. After practicing with Piccolo, it should be able to have a good foundation. Piccolo. Chapter 145, The King's Visit. After that, it was time to entertain Bidley to dinner. Dang dang dang. Bidley was shocked when she saw a large table in front of her filled with enough food for hundreds of people, and then there was a scene of several people being thrown into chaos. It's so delicious. Even better than what my chef makes, chef. Shish's ears turned to the side, obviously catching the keyword. It was related to Gohan's lifelong event, and she was very concerned about it. Goku knew that he just needed to develop step by step, and he didn't bother to say anything and eat. Does Bidley's family still have a chef? Does the family live in Satan City? Bulma had actually already investigated, and knew that Bidley's identity was the daughter of Satan, so he asked deliberately at this time. This kind of thing is actually not that complicated. You can find it out by just asking anyone in Satan City, even Gohan knows it. Well, there are 5 chefs in my family. She gave Bidley a piece of food with chopsticks and said, Gohan, you need to get along well with your classmates, you know. Gohan felt uncomfortable all over and kept eating. He didn't finish a bowl of rice for a long time. In such a short time, Goku and others almost finished the food. Fortunately, she had already calculated enough food for several people. In the afternoon, Gohan continued to practice with Bidley, and Xiaomi directly turned against Xiangang and insisted on fighting Goku. Goten is more honest and just plays with Gohan for a while. Bidley also couldn't hide her words, and her mind was full of doubts at this time. She took advantage of the break to sit on the grass and chat with Gohan. I want to ask, were those farmlands reclaimed by Uncle before? Well, my father has planted thousands of acres of land. There are several mountains on the other side that are full of various fruit trees. It covers about 500 acres. Goten and I will help out, if we have time. Okay, so awesome. Bidley actually had no idea, she just felt it was awesome. However, if she knew a little bit about farming, she would understand that it was simply not something that normal humans could do. Goku can't help it. She said before that he was too idle and wanted him to find a job. Goku was so frightened that he cleared thousands of acres of land overnight and planted it. Working part-time. It's impossible to work part-time in this life. Okay, of course, you can't support a few Saiyans by farming, but this Baozi mountain is rich in products. There is no shortage of food, and Ox King is not short of money, let alone Bulma, a super rich woman. What's wrong with eating soft rice? No, what does eating soft rice mean? Who said that? A warning from Super Turtle King. Bang. Bang bang bang. On the other side, Sun Xiaomi's burst of strength is quite astonishing. Just after transforming into a Super Saiyan, her combat power can reach 5 billion. This is just the result of her regular training. What's even more amazing is that she is only a 9-year-old child now. Goku didn't dare to let Xiaomi unleash her potential rashly. Chuancheo was very unstable once she was fully awakened, so her potential was actually not released at all. This is the scariest thing. But her potential has not yet been released, and her combat power is about to catch up with Gohan's achievement 7 years ago. Xiaomi's combat intuition and reaction are also very exaggerated. After a dual blow, the moment he retreats, there is no gap, and it is like a turtle style kicking. The dazzling light shone and was instantly blocked by Goku raising his hand. Swish. Bang. The next moment, Sun Xiaomi's figure flashed in front of Goku, and he punched out, causing the surrounding air to shake. Goku caught the punch steadily, smiled, and then a bolt of lightning shot out from his palm. The shocking palm of all nations. Although most Saiyans have rough skin and thick flesh, one thing is easy to overlook, that is, their magic resistance is generally low. Especially attacks on the spiritual level, and this kind of lightning ability. The latter does not reach a certain strength, and there is no threat if it is blocked by ki. But it is very dangerous at the mental level, so Goku will let Gohan and others also practice and improve their minds, especially Son Xiaomi. The legendary Super Saiyan does not need much guidance and development. What she needs is to learn to control her power. Bidili's talent is indeed not bad. In just 1 month, she took the time to study at Baozi Mountain, and she has already begun to show results and learned the air dance technique. That guy Satan took several years to learn. That evening, Bidili was invited to stay for dinner, and the matter of the #1 martial arts club in the world was mentioned. The best martial arts club in the world. Goku is not very interested. He is invincible on Earth. What kind of martial arts club is he joining? It might be more challenging and difficult for him to just imitate Shera and set up an arena where everyone can challenge him. Well, I guess Vegeta would be very happy. Well, Bidili had become familiar with each other during this period, but she was a little surprised when she later found out that Shishi and Bulma were both Goku's wives at this time. She stood up excitedly and said with stern eyes, "I think Uncle Goku and Xiaomi and Son Wuhan are both very strong, and they will definitely get a good ranking if they participate in the world's best martial arts competition. Bidili-san. My father is." Gohan wanted to explain, but he also guessed that Goku would not participate. But who would have thought that Xiaomi, who was immersed in eating, suddenly raised his head with bright eyes. Martial arts meeting. Well, Xiaomi, don't you know, I heard from mom that dad had participated before. Son Xiaomi looked at Bulma. Bulma also smiled, showing a look of reminiscence. Unknowingly, so many years have passed, and I really miss him. In the end, Son Xiaomi really planned to go to that martial arts club under Bidili's suggestion, and then begged Goku to participate. After all, she was her own daughter. Although Goku didn't really want to go, he still agreed. Anyway, if he remembered correctly, they were divided into an adult group and a youth group. Well, this little girl obviously didn't understand this, and she showed that she was holding back her energy and wanted to challenge Her Majesty. She was naive. Unless you fully awaken into the legendary Super Saiyan, no, you can't beat yourself. Even if you awaken. It would be a joke if I'll let you defeat me. Is this 20 years of Kigen practice in vain? And all the warriors and martial arts masters on the earth who had been silent for 7 years also became commotion because of this incident. The first one must be Vegeta. This guy came right after he smelled it. She even asked Tacy to convey the message to Goku, threatening to defeat him, and then began to practice even more crazily. In addition, there are people like Piccolo, Klin, Cheyenne, Jinfan and Yamcha. Yamcha is just joining in the fun. He has now turned from a martial artist directly into a fitness instructor, and he is very thorough. What Goku didn't expect was that someone had already come to the door before the world's best martial arts tournament started. On weekdays, probably no one would pass by Baozi Mountain all year round, because the distance is too far and there are no air routes passing above it. Because there are even many pterosaur-like dinosaurs living in this mountain forest, big problems may occur if you are not careful. But now, several helicopters appeared on Baozi Mountain. Shishi, who was busy in the kitchen, came out. Goku, Gohan, Xiaomi and Goten, who were practicing, all flew back and landed outside the house. It is worth mentioning that Bidili was also there. She was supposed to go home and prepare for the martial arts competition, but she accidentally saw Xiaomi practicing and asked her for advice. However, Xiaomi's combat effectiveness can be said to be 90% reliable. They are all self-taught with amazing talents. And Goku didn't even teach them intentionally. So for Gohan's sake, Goku could only teach some Kamas and Ryu things to Videl and let her practice with her, since they were all members of his own family anyway. The effect is definitely stronger than that of Satanism. Chapter 146 Resurrection. Baozi Mountain, Goku's house. Several people in suits got off several helicopters, and Goku actually recognized the last one who got off. The king of Earth. Well, that blue cat hasn't abdicated after so many years. In fact, Goku doesn't quite understand the nature of the Earth's government. You can say that it is useful. It has almost no sense of existence. But if you want to say that he is useful, that's not entirely true, because all the people on Earth know him and recognize his authority. Just outrageous. Although Goku was also confused, he still stood in front of everyone and looked at the king in front of him. Before he could speak, the king bowed and said, "Nice to meet you, the heroic boy who once saved the world." Well, Goku was even more confused now, but he still guessed that he was probably talking about the Piccolo de Mayo period, so he could only ask, "What can I do for you? Can we sit down and talk?" said the old king, whose beard was graying, and even the coat on his body was a little dull. Goku also discovered this. The old king may not abdicate until he dies of old age. "Please, come in." There was no choice but to invite the other person into the room. "Sit down first and listen to the other person's purpose of coming here." The room was not small, but it was impossible for a group of people to squeeze in. Finally, Shishi and others all walked to another 2-story room. We went to the building where Gohan and Goten lived. After all, it would be inconvenient for the children to live together all the time when they are older. Goku and Shishi live in an old house and are used to it and don't want to move. Shishi brought 2 cups of tea and turned around and walked out. The bodyguards brought by the king stood around and looked very professional. "Thanks, can we get down to business?" Goku scratched his head. He was really not good at dealing with this kind of situation, which was why he hated seeing Beerus. He was not good at communication to begin with, so he preferred to speak with his fists. However, he met Beerus, a being who was also not good at communication, and whose combat power was as bad as a bug. The king nodded calmly, and then raised his hand. The person who was supposed to be a secretary took a briefcase, and placed it in front of Goku. The king said at the right time, it was supposed to be a reward for saving the earth several times. "This is the authorization letter for the ownership of all the land and resources around Baozi Mountain. It has no expiration date, but in order not to disturb you, I didn't ask anyone to send it over, but you can rest assured that you always have the right to develop everything around Baozi Mountain. Mr. Son Goku, is it okay for me to call you that?" "No problem." Goku felt a little uncomfortable. He rarely encountered this kind of slow communication. However, this authorization letter still has some meaning. Strictly speaking, Baozi Mountain is not his private land. To be precise, it should be an ownerless land waiting to be developed. With the rich natural resources, someone might actually take advantage of it. Idea here. But judging from the king's intentions, it seems that he is also a sensible person, so he automatically assigned Baozi Mountain to Goku's name a long time ago. Therefore, although poachers occasionally appear in the entire Baozi Mountain, no one has ever dared to make a big fuss about it. What kind of development are you doing here? Not to mention the primitive jungle near Baozi Mountain. You have to walk dozens of kilometers outside Baozi Mountain to see the city. Therefore, the Goku family has lived here for decades, and even decades and hundreds of years later, only the Goku family and their descendants still live here. Well, let me get down to business. Although I'm sorry to disturb your life, this time I have to ask you to take action. I know very well what amazing power a great martial artist like you has. As he said that, the secretary on the side opened another computer and showed Goku a picture, which seemed to be a research institute. Goku couldn't understand the things inside, but he saw a familiar logo. The Red Ribbon Legion. They are really centipede insects, dead but not stiff. These guys are simply Zhao. As you can see, the Red Ribbon Legion that you once destroyed has never completely disappeared. They found a group of outstanding scientists to conduct secret research and now have some terrible results. I hope you can take action. Cold sweat dripped from the king's forehead, and his eyes were fixed on Goku without much confidence. "I'm very ashamed. I'm really powerless as a king. Can you give me some clues?" He waved his hand, indicating that the other party should not be nervous. This is also the reason why he doesn't want to publicize his strength and martial arts in a big way. The concepts and ideas of ordinary people on Earth have been fixed. If a Superman suddenly appears, what will most people think, even if you are a Superman? But when you think that, if you accidentally sneeze one day, half the people on the earth will die, who the hell can be calm about this? And even if you are really a saint, you will be subject to various demands, and even go beyond the limits. If you take a step back, you can only be a native of the motherland. Goku feels that he still likes to eat beef. Immediately, the king handed Goku the current headquarters of the Red Ribbon Army and some information. To Goku's surprise, that place was in Satan City, an economic metropolis that had risen in just 7 years. Although the Red Ribbon Legion has lost its leader and a genius like Dr. Gallo, its current leader is also an ambitious guy, and there is also a grandson who claims to be Dr. Gallo. Dr. Hyde's scientists are here help with research. It is said that Dr. Hyde has a mind that rivals Dr. Gallo. Goku also realized that this time might be really troublesome, so he agreed. Before leaving, the king said to Goku, "If you are willing, Mr. Son Goku, I would like to invite you to be the god of martial arts. I hope you can make the power of martial arts flourish in the world again. Forget it, I don't really want to be Jesus. Well, excuse me, if there is anything you need me to do, you can contact me on this phone." The king hurriedly gave Goku a one-line phone and left Baozi Mountain. Goku smiled and didn't care. The king's last words were obviously intended to take advantage of him. He really pretended that he couldn't hear it, but when he was exposed, he ran away in panic. The Jesus he was talking about was not God, but the one who was crucified on the cross. The god of martial arts sounds nice, but in fact there is really no room for development of martial arts on Earth. The upper limit of people on Earth is so high. They have to marry a wife, have children, and be busy with life. Although Goku will also feel that Yamcha cannot hold up the wall, but it happens Yamcha is a normal person with this kind of thinking. Originally, the upper limit of the Earthlings was so high, no matter how hard they practiced, they would still be like that. Their flesh and blood were weak, so why bother fighting with the Saiyans? In a sense, Shishi's idea in the original book is really right. Let Gohan study hard. Look at Dr. Gallo, Dr. Brief, and all those scientific lunatics. Which starting point is not from the earth, but the things they make are more dangerous than the last. What is the upper limit of race? There is no such thing. Isn't it better if I'm not an earthling? Exclamation mark. Chapter 147 Being taken advantage of. Sure enough, Mr. Son Goku is the champion of the world's best martial arts tournament many years ago, Bidali said excitedly at this time. Gohan scratched his head on the side. He was not born yet at that time point, but he also knew about this. The world's best martial arts tournament has been suspended for many years, since the last time Goku participated. After all, he accidentally evaporated an island. The destructive power of the previous finals was comparable to that of war. Who can bear this? However, the audience is also very limited. The organizer cannot collect the ticket price, even if it collects tickets. It cannot make ends meet, so it is impossible to continue the event. A few years ago, it was reopened due to the reinvestment by that guy from Satan. It could be considered an accident that allowed martial arts to be maintained at an embarrassing level, but it would not completely disappear. It's so amazing. Even the king is here. This is a treatment that even my father doesn't have, Bidali said, changing the subject and muttering, but I feel that my father is more powerful. Ah. Ha ha ha. Gohan didn't dare to answer. How do you answer this? No matter how you answer, it's a dead end. How to prove that Goku is strong? Let Goku beat Satan. Satan? Who? Me. Say Satan is strong. Sun Xiaomi looked at Bidali with a dangerous look at this moment. After all, she was still a child, a little competitive, and especially had a kind of admiration for her parents. Just like Bidali. Gohan's heart at this moment was, help me, help me. Several people came out, and Bulma walked towards Goku and asked what happened. Goku didn't hide anything. He threw away the communicator in his hand and said sternly, I'm going to take a look. Maybe the Red Ribbon Legion has secretly researched something. These guys are really stalking you, but there's no need for you to be in such a hurry. It's already so late. It won't be the same if you go tomorrow. Yes. Goku smiled and calculated the time. It was not difficult for him to defeat the Red Ribbon Army. The key was that he wanted to eradicate it. So this matter should take some time to resolve, and the martial arts tournament is about to start in less than a week. If he changes his mind temporarily, Vegeta will probably be so angry that he will go to Baozi Mountain to find him for a duel. At the same time, Satan City. A certain secret research institute looks like a biological research institution on the surface, but inside, the Red Ribbon Legion logo can be seen everywhere, which is particularly conspicuous in the laboratory. In front of a huge cylindrical container, two figures were standing in front, staring at a twisted mass of flesh and blood in the container. Drive. Hide. This is not what I want. Drive. Hyde was a fat little man with short stature. He was standing aside at the moment. Hearing this, he glanced at the investor who looked domineering and said, "Heh, you. Doctor, what do you mean, drive?" Hyde had no intention of communicating with the other party, but turned around and left, making the other party very angry. The next day, Goku was going to Satan City to investigate the Red Ribbon Army. Bulma deliberately arranged it and asked Gohan to go with him, on the grounds that he would guide Goku. In fact, she also entrusted Bidali to help as a guide, and the purpose is self-evident. Bidali has come to meet her parents, and she is getting along well with Gohan these days. She is thinking about Gohan's wedding, and Bulma naturally starts to work hard. This is a rhythm of preparing for Gohan to visit. What made Goku speechless was that at Shishi's request, he changed into a suit that he had never worn since he bought it. To put it nicely, it needs to be formal. Goku felt uncomfortable all over, but he still came to Satan City. Satan City is indeed very prosperous, with constant traffic and beautiful figures in cool clothes everywhere. Dad, I'm sorry. Gohan looked at Goku wearing a suit and felt a little awkward and embarrassed. It's okay. Goku sighed, but fortunately he kept a hand, looked around, and asked Gohan, "Gohan, is there no bathroom nearby?" "I remember there should be one ahead. If you walk a little further, it should be, Gohan-san." At this moment, Vidal's voice came from far away, interrupting Gohan. Gohan also turned to face him. When he turned back, Goku had disappeared. On the other side, Goku walked to the public toilet. He just wanted to change out of his clothes quickly. He felt so uncomfortable and was tied up. It feels like it could be completely torn apart if you're not careful. Bang. Just as Goku was walking to the bathroom, a figure suddenly passed by and bumped into him. Goku subconsciously said, "Sorry, I saw the other party looking slightly sideways, and at a glance, I saw a woman with long brown hair, wearing black rimmed glasses, with a somewhat indifferent expression." Goku didn't think it was anything, but he suddenly stopped walking halfway. After years of practice, he has been able to perfectly control his energy and strength, so that he will not accidentally hurt people, but he is still improving his realm at the same time. So how did an Earthling encounter him? Although he is still far from being able to achieve the ultimate goal of freedom, Goku's awareness of ki is always present, and has reached its peak. As long as he is a ki existent and his strength is at the same level, he can even exert all his strength without having to see it with his eyes. His pupils shrank, and he turned his head again, only to find that the figure had disappeared, and there were only passers-by and cars passing by. No energy. Artificial human. The frown on his face deepened. Goku didn't expect that he would be tricked just when he came here to investigate. After a while, Goku came out of the bathroom and had already changed into martial arts uniform. Gohan and Vidal came over. "Dad, Gohan, I may not be able to be with you. Besides," Goku thought for a moment and handed a box to Vidal. "This is a gift. Say hello to your father for me." "Why?" Without waiting for Vidali to react, Goku teleported and disappeared, leaving Vidali stunned. Gohan also felt something was wrong at this time. He rarely saw Goku showing such a serious expression, so he wanted to catch up, but was caught by Vidal. "Classmate. Sun Wuhan, is this really a trick?" Vidali looked at him seriously. "Well, Gohan wanted to nod, but his expression was unconvincing. Bitterly is not really stupid. During this time in Baozi Mountain, although Gohan tried his best to hide his strength and did not want to expose his strength, Goten and Xiaomi did not have such a burden. The strength they occasionally revealed accidentally was enough for Bitterly. The worldview collapsed. For example, big fish weighing hundreds of kilograms and dinosaurs weighing several tons are just prey, and there are also Kigen waves that are emitted from time to time. Gohan couldn't explain it clearly. Haha, actually this is Bitterly's eyes narrowed with an expression like you go ahead and make it up, see if I believe it or not. There was no other way. Gohan could only confess and confide in Videl. Although it was a bit difficult to accept, unexpectedly, Bitterly accepted it. I knew it. You're the blonde boy who defeated Cell 7 years ago, right? Oh yeah. Vitel's reaction was beyond Gohan's expectation. He was also worried that Vitel would be sad because of it. After all, she had been deceived by Satan for so long and had destroyed Satan's image in her mind. However, it turns out that Biddle's IQ should be as good as Satan's. She is not stupid, and she doesn't have Satan's habit of saving face. Gohan also couldn't hide his words. He just confessed, and even Goku was betrayed. Tell everything about Goku coming to Satan City to investigate the Red Ribbon Army, Gohan-san. Let's go help Uncle deal with the Red Ribbon Army, huh? But Gohan was a little surprised. But Bitterly looked particularly determined at this moment and said seriously, aren't you always helping me fight against criminals? An evil organization like the Red Ribbon Legion is unexpectedly hidden in Satan City. I must find them out. With that said, he launched a special attack on Gohan, stared at Gohan with a pair of big eyes and said, Gohan-san, you won't stop helping me, right? After hesitating for a moment, Gohan still couldn't resist and agreed. If Goku were here, he would probably be speechless. This kid has been completely manipulated. Chapter 148 Terrifying Energy. Inside the 13th Research Institute in Satan City, Gohan and Videl successfully sneaked in using the Wuhan technique. Is this really here? Classmate Sun Wuhan? Bitterly expressed doubts, but looking at Gohan's masked Superman costume, she asked, do you have to dress up like this? Haha, I'm used to it. Gohan put away his costume and explained, I did feel that Zanga came here, so there should be nothing wrong with it, but this is a research institute invested by one of my father's classmates. I should be able to come in directly. I don't know why I followed you in subconsciously. Gohan, then. You didn't tell me earlier. At this point, the two of them could only continue to lurk and walk deeper into the research institute, avoiding a lot of surveillance along the waypoint. Just as the two of them successfully sneaked into the research institute and approached the laboratory, they were discovered by a figure that suddenly appeared. You two, what's wrong with you? This is Gohan was a little flustered. Fortunately, Bitterly reacted immediately and said calmly, we were invited to visit the institute. I'm Bitterly, and my father is Mr. Satan. Hello, yeah. The woman with long brown hair looked at the two of them, and after looking at them for a moment, she suddenly smiled and stretched out her hand. Welcome, but there is a very important laboratory nearby. Don't just run around. I can show you the way, thank you. No need. We will visit and then leave. At this moment, the other party's eyes moved slightly. That's really a pity. I'll leave first. Immediately, the woman in research clothes turned and left. Gohan stared at the other person's back as he left, but Vidal's cheeks puffed up. Does it look good? Classmate Sun Wuhan, you misunderstood. Classmate Bidley, this person is very strange. Just like Goku's previous discovery, Gohan realized at this moment that the other party had no breath when he approached, and he did not notice the other party's breath at this moment. I was about to catch up and find out, but at this moment, there was a sudden roar from deep in the research institute. Boom. Under the huge explosion, flames shot into the sky, and thick smoke billowed out of the laboratory. Gohan and Videl rushed directly into the scene. As a result, the scene was in a mess, and Goku was confronting a deformed and twisted humanoid monster. Dad, Gohan, why are you here? Goku paused. The monster in front of him felt like the aura of Cell, but also had the aura of a frozen demon. It was very weird, but from the appearance, it should be the product of a failed experiment. He had sensed this energy before, so he teleported here directly. As a result, Dr. Hyde was not found, nor was the previous artificial man found. Instead, he saw the rich second generation who secretly funded the research of the Red Ribbon Legion. At this time, he had been injured by the explosion of the experimental container and was lying in the corner. You, who are you? How dare you break into my research institute? Damn it. I will make you pay the price. He was still shouting, even though he was seriously injured. Goku frowned. It was the same way before. It was very troublesome for him to ask for some useful information. Just as he was about to use Dark Control to directly control the opponent, Gohan ran over. Whoosh. Yeah, Bidley-san. The monster seemed to have only the instinct of destruction, similar to a wild beast. After noticing Goku's terror, it did not wreak havoc, but the intrusion of Gohan and Videl at this moment attracted his attention. Gohan's energy was not weak either, and in the end it was Videl and the rich man who were unlucky. The monster stretched out 2 tentacles and attacked the 2 of them. Gohan subconsciously went to save Videl first. Goku wanted to ask about the whereabouts of Dr. Hyde, so naturally he would not let that guy get into trouble so easily. After saving the person, Goku looked at the monster in front of him. A bright light appeared in his eyes, and a Kigen wave directly annihilated it, but it did not affect the entire research institute. With his strength, if he accidentally fails to control his anger, the entire Satan city may be reduced to ashes. Woo fire. Trucks quickly surrounded the research institute and began to put out the fire. Videl took Gohan to meet Satan as originally planned, while Goku took the rich man directly to find Dr. Hyde. Located in a secret research institute on a small island, Goku eliminated the guarding robots along the way and went to the depths of the research institute to meet Dr. Hyde. Ah, you Dr. Hyde, boss. Goku raised a hand. Dazzling energy condensed in his palm, and he was ready to kill the opponent if he disagreed. For such a dangerous character, it would be better to die. If he was just a warrior with some strength, Goku would still consider keeping him, but unfortunately, he didn't intend to stay with such a smart guy with very dangerous ideas. Drive. Hyde raised his head. His chubby figure looked like he had no fighting ability at all, and there was a circle of black lines under his eyes. He looked at Goku and said in a cold tone, "Son Goku, it was you who destroyed the Red Ribbon Army and killed my grandpa." Correction, your grandfather was killed by the android because he trapped himself in a cocoon. Goku didn't want to take the blame. He was telling the truth. Although he attacked Dr. Gallo several times, he failed to succeed. No, it's not important. You're right. Not having you is very important to me, boss. The energy in Goku's palm expanded to the limit, but he suddenly frowned and stopped what he was doing. The energy gradually dissipated, and a hand was placed on his shoulder without knowing it. The ki in Goku's body was being extracted crazily and almost perceptibly. His eyes were narrowed, but Goku did not make any move, but allowed the other party to extract the ki from his body. Laugh. At some point, there were a swarm of mechanical creatures that looked like poisonous bees all around him. Goku could sense a huge threat from above. A drop of purple viscous liquid substance fell on the ground, instantly burning a big hole in the metal floor. These mechanical wasps are highly venomous. Ordinary Saiyans cannot survive in the universe. They will be injured and die. Naturally, they cannot be immune to this fatal poison. Goku did not expect that things would suddenly become so difficult. Should I call you Mrs. Gallo or number 21? He turned his head slightly and looked at android number 21. Under the white research coat was a red and blue checkered tight skirt, and she wore a pair of glasses. She seemed a little surprised when she heard this and said with an intellectual smile, "I'm not Drive-Vomi," but she combined her knowledge, and after the personality was uploaded, a new artificial human was created based on Dr. Gallo's technology. How do you know the name? Number 21. Guess. Of course Goku wouldn't say that. His situation is quite bad at the moment, but it's not completely impossible to break the situation. The premise is that before the opponent completely draws out his energy. This method is different from the number 19 studied by Dr. Gallo and the number 20 modified by himself. It is a growth type artificial human of the same type as Violet's modification. His eyes moved slightly. Goku ignored the other party's move to absorb the energy from his body. A bolt of lightning flashed across his eyes and asked, "You don't have clones or anything, right? You'd better not move around casually. B-pills are prepared to deal with monsters like you. Even specially strengthened skin can be pierced. Its poison can kill any living creature instantly." Dr. Hyde warned, somewhat nervous. Goku doesn't want to make the same mistake, so he has to make sure Dr. Hyde and Android 21 die here. After hearing this, and looking at Dr. Hyde's reaction, Goku could already conclude that this should indeed be their true form. In this case, what an amazing energy. No. 21 had absorbed too much ki at this moment, and lightning flashed faintly on the surface of his body. There was a bit of intoxication on his face, and his ki had surpassed that of the original Shalu, but suddenly, her expression changed, and she looked at Goku in disbelief, with a look of horror on her face. "How can you still have so much energy?" "No." Zip. A golden lightning burst out from Goku's body, instantly filling every inch of the entire laboratory. The shocking palm of all nations. If he relies on ordinary means, he is really afraid of these mechanical poisonous bees, because there is no way to deal with them all, and it will be bad if they are attacked at once. But the electric energy transformed by the 10,000 Kingdoms shocking palm is enough to destroy any mechanical life in an instant. Chapter 149 Upgrading Violet. Ding, defeat number 21, and get potential value +1, on. The calm sea. Clouds suddenly gathered over an isolated island, and the sea was turbulent. Point boom. A violent golden lightning fell, mixed with blue terrifying ball lightning, appeared in the center of the island, turning the entire island into ashes in an instant. After a long time, the entire sea area seemed to be boiled by thunder, rolling endlessly, and bursts of thick fog appeared all over the sea. Goku stood in midair and observed for a moment, frowning. He actually escaped. No, 21 was more troublesome than Violet. He never expected that the other party had learned how to teleport without knowing what method he used. Goku guessed that it had something to do with him. After all, he was the only one on the entire planet who knew this trick. Even Gohan couldn't learn it, but he still didn't know the specific principal point. But at the moment he took action, number 21 teleported away and escaped. Goku was unexpected and failed to keep him, but Dr. Hyde should be dead, and there would be no scum left. After closing his eyes for a moment, Goku couldn't find No 21's energy. He sighed and disappeared on the sea, sizzling, in a triangular shaped universe spaceship. No 21's whole body was flashing with abnormal electric arcs. He was lying on the ground in a very embarrassed state, with bursts of charred black smoke floating out of his body. When he raised his head, his glasses were broken, and his eyes were full of heart palpitations. His energy has far exceeded my upper limit. It is impossible to win. I will not help you anymore. Drive. Hyde's figure suddenly appeared on the screen in front of him. He looked at number 21 and said solemnly, "I'm already working on a new artificial man. It's up to you, HMPH. Can you continue to study like this? It's none of your business. Drive." Hyde's figure disappeared from the screen. Number 21 stood up, raised a hand. His eyes were full of fear, and then licked the corners of his mouth, and the fear in his eyes turned into greed and desire. A series of numbers and symbols circulated in his eyes. It's amazing energy, if you can get it all. Earth, Satan City. Goku originally didn't want to come back here, but Bulma suddenly contacted him and said he wanted to come too, which made Goku confused. "Do you need me to pick you up?" Goku asked, holding a communicator in his hand. Huh. Unexpectedly, Bulma's surprised voice came from the communicator, and he said jokingly, "I didn't expect you to be so considerate, Goku." What a surprise. Toot. Bulma looked at the communicator that suddenly hung up, smiled, and drove the plane closer to Satan City, which was already visible in the distance. Not long after, Bulma landed in Satan City, and then began to drag Goku to accompany her shopping. "Isn't this the important thing you're talking about?" Aha. Bulma was very happy, holding Goku's arm with both hands, and walking towards the mall, comforting him. "Don't worry, you haven't come out with me for a long time, okay?" Bulma showed a satisfied smile when he saw this. After shopping for about 2 hours, Goku was almost full of people. He found a rest area in the mall and didn't want to move. Boomer is still on a shopping spree. Ha, boo ha. As soon as I looked up, I saw two familiar figures appearing in front of me, dressed in Shimeo's clothes, and with an 8-point or even 9-point appearance and figure. Hi, Goku. The gentle voice and familiar face made Goku's pupils shrink slightly. Lanky. How could you? I live with her. What's weird? Where's Bulma? Violet said hello, then walked aside and sat down and said, I heard Bulma said that you are tracking the Red Ribbon Army. I have some information here, but I can't give it to you for free. Just 300 million. The price is very reasonable. Goku, do you think I'm worth 300 million? Even the fortune teller wouldn't dare ask for such an expensive price. The price increase in recent years seems to have only risen to 100 million. The key is to negotiate the price point that's good for you. Baba will triple it into strokes. Forget it. I'll give you an advantage this time. As a condition, you go shopping with me. A hint of cunning flashed in Violet's eyes. I heard it. Bulma walked over just in time, took out a card, and threw it to her, walked to Goku, said hello to Lanky, and then looked at Violet warily. This is 100 million. Give you tell me what information you know, otherwise. TSK. Violet knew that Bulma was threatening her again, but she really had no choice. Who let her have the control in Bulma's hands? Immediately, Violet revealed all the information she had investigated about the Red Ribbon Legion. At the same time, there is also information about Dr. Hayden number 21. She has been secretly investigating the Red Ribbon Legion these years. Originally, she was the colonel of the Red Ribbon Legion. Now, if the Red Ribbon Legion still recognizes her, she should be regarded as a hardcore veteran. Drive. Hyde has upgraded his consciousness into a supercomputer. I'm still investigating where it is now. As for the 21st you mentioned, Violet hesitated for a moment, spread her hands and said, judging from the information I found, she should be my upper level artificial human. It should be said that my transformation was an experiment conducted by Drive Vomi to prepare herself, but the type of transformation they all belong to the highest level S type. Unfortunately, as you can see, I have reached my limit. S type. Goku's eyes moved. Violet also spoke out very readily at this time. For artificial humans like me, who can directly increase their strength through food and energy absorption, and Dr. Gallo's preference for cell modification are two different directions, but number 21 has Drive Vomi's memory in mind, as well as a lot of Dr. Gallo's research data, may have some transformation abilities that I don't know about. Drive Gallo is really crazy. Boomer sighed. She is a genius scientist and naturally knows how dangerous the research involved is. At this time, Goku also remembered that he seemed to have gotten something. Since he didn't need the S-type robot upgrade chip, he ignored it. After all, he didn't study any robots. It seems to be useful now. Taken out directly. It is a triangular wafer shaped chip, like crystal, without any mechanical feeling, full of science fiction color. This is Violet suddenly showed excitement and raised her hand to grab the chip in Goku's hand. She didn't know what it was, but the artificial human factor in her body was madly urging her to get what was in front of her at all costs. Goku raised his hand, wanting to negotiate terms with Violet first, but in the end he underestimated Violet's desire for this thing and immediately pressed forward. It was as if two balls of slime were pressed directly on his face. Along with the faint fragrance, Goku's face froze. What are you doing? The scene was chaotic for a while, attracting a lot of attention. Goku felt bad all over, so he decisively teleported away with the three of them. Chapter 150 Meeting Father-in-Law. Satan City. In Satan's mansion. Miss, you are back. Vidal took Gohan and walked towards the living room of the mansion, lowering his head along the way. Gohan looked around, not too surprised. It's not like Bulma's house didn't have a mansion. Satan City does not belong to Satan, but because of the heroic title of saving the world, the city was renamed Satan City. And Bulma can really turn a city into the private property of the Bry family. If the universal capsule can be sold into the universe, it may not be difficult for the Bry family to buy a few planets. to play with. The space folding technology is a bug. It seems to be one of the technologies studied by Dr. Breve, but in fact, no one in the entire 7th universe has been able to research this technology so far. Too practical. What on earth were you thinking? Why did you bring Sun Wukong home and tell your father about it? At this time, Bedel's mind went blank, but she could not regret it. Originally, she only agreed to be a guide, and Bulma had previously asked Gohan to bring gifts to visit Satan. Vidali didn't find anything wrong at the time, and just regarded it as a visit between classmates, but she ignored the fact that she had been running to Baozi Mountain continuously this month. Satan also knew that she was just looking for Gohan. Now, everyone came to her door. Bidali may not think so, but in Satan's eyes, isn't this the coming of his future son-in-law? Can this be tolerated? It was only when Bidali arrived at the door that she realized something was wrong. Miss, different. From the housekeeper and security guard at the door, two burly figures stood at the door of the living room, bowed slightly to Bidali and said, "Mr. Satan is practicing. He said that you should take a rest first. We will take you there. Just go over and see him." Huh. Dad is a real person. I'll go see him. Vidali frowned and immediately realized that Satan was definitely going to make things difficult for Gohan, so she went to find Satan to reason, but was stopped by two sturdy figures raising their hands. "You guys, miss, please don't embarrass us. This is what Mr. Satan means." Vidali was angry for a moment, then turned to look at Gohan and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Gohan-san, my dad's brain is broken. I'll treat you to a meal to apologize. Let's go." It doesn't matter. Gohan waved his hands blankly. After all, it was a door-to-door visit. Bulma and Shishi told him many ways, but he didn't expect that Satan would directly make things difficult for him. Walk. Vidali couldn't stand it anymore, so she dragged Gohan to leave. "Wait a minute. Bidali, my baby girl, who made you angry, Mr. Satan?" At this moment, Satan walked out in a fighting uniform, pushed away the two disciples with great momentum, walked directly to Gohan, and said with a serious face, "Tell Daddy, Daddy will help you teach him a lesson." This momentum was enough to attack Gohan. "Dad, you are going too far. Classmate Sun Wukong taught me many powerful martial arts. How could you do this to him?" "Huh? Daughter, didn't I tell you that your father is the most powerful martial artist? There is no need for you to learn tricks from others, especially those from unknown origins." Satan looked at Gohan and said. Gohan could only smile dryly in return. This was Bulma's exact words. Satan is a face-saving person. When the time comes, you just have to smile. It's useless to say anything, as long as it's like this, like this. Dad, Bidali couldn't stand Satan's bullying attitude. She was about to explode, and an astonishing aura spread from her body. Goku still had a few golden apples left, but Shishi and Bulma didn't eat them, because if they eat a few more, they lose their effect completely, and can only fill their stomachs. If you eat one, you won't be hungry for 100 days. It's more filling than fairy beans. The key is that it has no taste. Bidali ate some when she went to Baozi Mountain before, and Bulma cut it out for her as a fruit plate. So Bidali's current fighting ability is beyond what Satan can imagine. Satan's combat power is over 100, while Bidali's is 8000. The breath control was not very good, and the sudden surge almost shattered the glass, frightening the two disciples of Satan, and froze in place. Satan also shed a drop of cold sweat on his face, and then changed his face at the speed of light. Ha 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 ha, it's just a joke. Baby girl, don't be angry. Dad is wrong. Raising his hand and patting Gohan's shoulder, Satan coughed to relieve the embarrassment. "Well, you are Sun Wukong, right? Well, Vidal said you are also a martial artist, so I want to point you out. It's all a misunderstanding. You shouldn't mind, right?" "No." Ha ha ha. Ha. Gohan remembered Bulma's instructions and would not say more if he could. "Well, great. Are you interested in visiting my place of practice?" "Don't worry, I will take good care of you." Satan said so, but he already put his hand on Gohan's shoulder and almost dragged him to the training room. However, as soon as he exerted force, he found that Gohan was like a boundary monument and could not move an inch. What's going on with this kid? Is there a mechanism under his feet? Humph, you are indeed a little trickster who dares to deceive my baby bitterly. You are dead. See how I teach you a lesson, so that you will never dare to come here again. Glancing at Vidal, Gohan blinked. Okay, well, let's go. I followed Satan to the training room, which was actually just a gym with various fitness equipment, including sandbags, dumbbells, and a pile of broken tiles. HMPH, how's it going? Satan pointed at the pile of tiles very proudly and said, my best result is to split 23 pieces at once, so it's just so. Ah, yeah. Gohan nodded with difficulty, not knowing how to evaluate it. Is it so? He can cut through the entire mountain with one hand knife. Well, it should indeed be so. Huh. Satan doesn't think so. This record is an achievement that he is proud of. He will even use this trick to attract the attention of the audience when he appears. He has tried it repeatedly and thinks that he is already very strong. What's going on with your insipid reaction? Boy, are you provoking me, Satan? Ha ha ha. Satan didn't show it. He laughed loudly, then winked at his 2 idiot apprentices and asked them to move out a pile of tiles and said with a smile, do you want to give it a try? Or let me show you? It's alright. As he said that, he walked forward, took a deep breath, opened his posture, glared angrily, and struck a pile of tiles with a hand knife. Drink. Well, 23 tiles. 21 were broken. To be precise, the upper part was broken into several pieces, and the lower part was only divided into 2. Satan put his hands behind his back, walked back to Gohan and laughed. Ha ha ha. I just finished training, and my condition is a bit worse. It's a pity. How are you? But the meaning in his eyes was clearly, boy, do you know I'm awesome? Gohan blinked, although he blinked quickly. But what kind of eyesight did he have? He naturally trembled when he saw Satan retracting his hand. This. I walked to another pile of tiles. I guessed that there were probably more than 40 tiles stacked on top of each other because they hadn't been separated yet. I raised my hand and patted them lightly. Click. All the tiles turned into fragments on the ground. Gohan turned to look at Satan and scratched his head. Haha, this. On the other hand, Satan, like the 2 disciples behind him, looked at this scene in shock with an exaggerated expression that made his eyes almost pop out. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.